Good morning and welcome to the start of a brand new week on the AM show. I've often wondered what it would feel like to have two women host the AM show. And lucky I am this morning. Noella, welcome to the AM show.
Thank you so much, sweetie. It's good to be doing this with you this morning. It's my first time. So
no, it's not.
Go us. It's not on the AM show with you, the main show.
Well,
so yeah.
It's really good. Yeah. It's really good to have you on.
It is.
So let's tell you what we have in store for you for this morning, the 4-hour packed show, the AM show. Of course, the AM news is top of our order. Right after that, the AM sports comes. And then we get into our news review segment. For news review segments, those who join us today, Victoria Bright. She's a lawyer and entrepreneur. Mustapha Bande. He's Deputy Director of Operations at the Office of the Presidency. And James Kwabena Bomfe Jr. is the CEO of Census. And they join us for the news review today. And Noella will tell you about our big stories.
Right. Our big story, for those who live and breathe football, the game is a dream, a livelihood, and a source of national pride. But when violence invades the pitch, the consequences are harrowing. You don't want to miss a thing. Also, the AM show brings you a series of debates in the lead up to GJA's election on the 30th June, where the media fraternity elect new executives. And today we focus on the position of the National Organising Secretary. And you're live to tell us what they have up your sleeves and why you should vote for one or not the other.
So we're inviting you to join us with your comments and your thoughts across all social media platforms. We enjoy news on TV. And a gentle reminder that the AM show is sponsored by Waylead Properties. We provide quality housing at affordable costs with flexible payment options. Welcome aboard the AM show. Let's get right into our news, AM news now, anchored by Noella. Okay.
Well, you're welcome back. It's the AM show. We've gotten to the news segment, and in our headlines today, the Petroleum Hub Development Corporation is making a push to secure some 300 million Ghana cedis to pay for land compensation to begin development of the corporation. The hub, which was commissioned in 2024, is expected to cost a total of 12 billion cedis to fully build. Chief Executive Officer Dr. Tony Aubin first explained to journalists at the ongoing Energy Committee retreat in the Eastern region the scope of the project.
At the enclave, which will be the first in Africa, the first with that full effect in Africa and West Africa in particular. Now, the enclave would have to build 2 jetties and harbor infrastructure. It will also have to help build 3 refineries, 5 petrochemical plants, and storage tank, the tank farms or storage tank for fuel. So we are so lucky to have very good coastal area, a sea area bordering the Jomoro land, which is very deep, can handle any vessel that comes. So our responsibility is to facilitate that. It is not government which is building the refinery. If government want to build, that will be fine, but it is not government. It's a private sector initiative, which is very good for the private sector. It can be good for the Ghanaian private sector, which we encourage to form groups to participate. But beyond that, there's going to be a new township.
Now, the Cape Coast Metropolitan Assembly has started the demolition of weak and dilapidated buildings across the metropolis. This follows the tragic death of 2 individuals after heavy rains on Saturday morning caused by an old brick-story building to collapse in a community known as London Bridge. Speaking to Joy News, Metropolitan Chief Executive George Justice Arthur said the Assembly had already identified high-risk areas and is moving swiftly to pull down all structures deemed unsafe. He emphasized that the demolitions are necessary to prevent further loss of life and property, especially as the rainy season intensifies.
Now I'm speaking with you. This very building, you realize that part of it is where it collapsed. So we are going to make sure by the close of today, we demolish everything, the close of today. We have also identified some areas where they are all in a dilapidated state. They are almost in the same state, and we are going to make sure we demolish all of them today. But it will not last only today because there's a disaster. We will make sure that we fight this holistically so that every dilapidated building within Cape Coast that might get collapsed, we will rather demolish it before it gets collapsed. So, security agencies have done so well. The police service, the fire service, NADMO, all of them have done so well. And we will make sure we work hand in hand with them. Collectively, I think we will be able to solve this problem holistically. If not all, we will be able to solve about 90% of the problem.
Meanwhile, the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, is urging residents of the Central Region to take flood warnings, and Central Regional NADMO Director Kwesi Dawood stressed the importance of adhering to early flood alerts and safety advisories.
That citizens in and around this area will use today's incidents as a wake-up call to adhere to the necessary early warning mechanisms we have been deploying from time to time to help us in combating this kind of avoidable disasters. We mapped out the necessary flood-prone areas, did extensive public education, where as part of our early warning mechanisms, we activated this mechanism, informed residents living in the low-lying areas and designated flood-prone areas that the information at our disposal from the Emergency Operations Command as well as the Meteorological Service indicates that there's going to be heavy rainfall this year. And as such, we needed them to move to the designated safe havens so that in case there is incidents of flooding, we wouldn't have this kind of device.
And away from that, dialysis patients are appealing to government to establish dialysis facilities in district centers to avoid the challenge of commuting to regional centers for treatment. In an interview during a donation of some medications to the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital's dialysis unit by the Dialysis Patients Association of Ghana, Thomas Khan, an advocate for dialysis patients, indicated that district dialysis centers will be easily accessible to patients living especially in further distances, easing the challenge of long-distance commute for dialysis treatment. He also urged government to allow for NHIS and the Mahama Cares Trust Fund cover some vital dialysis medications. There's more in the following report.
Items donated to the dialysis unit of the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital included erythropoietin and iron injection. In an interview, the president of the Dialysis Patients Association of Ghana, Kojo Bafuahenkra, praised government's decision to maintain the free dialysis policy commenced by the past MPP administration and made an appeal.
Latter part of the year last year, the government implemented the free dialysis by the National Health Insurance, December, so we started it. And thank God, when the new administration, they also continue. What I can say, we thank them, really appreciate it. It's a life-saving. Now we can say the mortality rate is very low. You know, we hardly hear patients are gone because we are getting our regular sessions of dialysis, so it's helping us a lot. We have more challenges, you know, like this hypoten and this iron thing. You know, if there's a way they can find a way and put it on the National Health Insurance for us, because at least each patient will need 1 shot or 2 shots per session, just to keep your HB on point. Now the nurses and the doctors are trying to bring a policy. When you come, your HB is below 6, they won't put you on the machine. And normally, most of us are around 6, 7, 8. But once we are taking regular EPO and iron, it helps us to bring it up. So we are plead with the government. They should look at that one. At least, if you're a new patient you are coming, at least there should be a policy whereby they can do the fistula for you as part of one of their maybe the free policies you get, because the fistula is very expensive, and that is what sustained us for a very long time.
A member of the dialysis unit team of the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, Dr. Aaron Amate, expressing appreciation for the donation, described the donated medication as critical for end-stage kidney disease patients.
We are grateful for the donation of erythropoietin and iron to our dialysis patients. I think it is important because it plays a vital role in our end-stage kidney disease patients. in that most of them are on the dialysis. And as a hospital and as a unit, we are hoping to get more of these things available for our patients and our clients.
Thomas Khan is an advocate for dialysis patients.
We are pleading that government will acquire more machines and then also get more of the machines, if not for anything, at least into the various districts, so that people traveling from far distances would have easy access to dialysis. Because we have people traveling all the way from Chufupras and almost Dunkonofin, several hours just to come for dialysis. We believe that once government rolls out a policy, this Mahama Care policy, which is a laudable one, it includes having dialysis centers almost in every district. It will be very, very a good one for patients.
From Cape Coast, Abigail Listel-Nkrumah reports.
Away from that, the 2019 NACA curriculum for Ghanaian schools designed to transform teaching and learning with emphasis on competencies and values has faced challenges with its full implementation. Now, teachers as frontline educators are observed to lack the necessary skills and knowledge to deliver the curriculum's objectives, with gaps in effective knowledge transfer and practical learning in schools. Now, the Ghana Education Service has partnered Brilliant Educational Consult to engage heads of schools and teachers to equip them with skills in training students in science, technology, engineering, artificial intelligence and mathematics. Here's a report by Clinton Yaboa.
At the 2025 Ghana EdTech Workshop, organized in collaboration with the Kumasi Metro of the Ghana Education Service, it was revealed that students' lessons are still being conducted and assessed with old methods and techniques. President of the Ghana National Association of Authors and Publishers and lead facilitator of the training, John Akwesi Amponsa, says the narrow implementation is leaving learners unable to keep up with the pace of improvements in the world.
NACA came up with syllabus in 2019. Expecting that our schools and our school children will be able to transit into building core competencies, into building values, into learning that they can apply themselves and solve problems. But the teachers who were supposed to drive that change did not have the very skills they were supposed to deliver to the children. This was a huge concern. So this concern created a synergy that brought Ghana Education Service, Kumasi Metro, together with Brilliant Education Consult and Brilliant Publications to organize this workshop to equip teachers with not only the knowledge, but the tools they require to transform the classroom for the learning.
The workshop was themed leveraging AI, digital tools, instructional materials, and innovative pedagogies and assessment models to enhance learning, foster skills acquisition, and improve educational outcomes. The workshop assembled the Association of Authors and Publishers, heads of schools, school administrators, and teachers. The founder of Brilliant Education Consult, John Akwesi Amponsa, emphasized the need to shift to a philosophy of education that prioritizes STEAM and STEM skills.
Education is actually programmed or fashioned to equip learners with the skills and knowledge they require to function effectively in the world of work and in their own lives. Now, given the problems of today and given the issues that are happening, climate change, whatever, you see that our era is problem-driven. And so we cannot continue to rely on traditional education. There is the need to shift to a level of education or a philosophy of education that prepares learners for the future.
Participants were taken through a holistic and broad introduction of STEAM education, focal point of STEM education, which is knowledge, core competencies and values, and comprehensive AI studies, and how to deploy AI to plan lessons. They were confident the training will make teaching effective, especially with the usage and focus on current tools of technology.
People are now naive. You know, the AI world has come to stay. So should this program continue, other people will learn a lot, because it's a lot. It's a package.
Most of the schools don't have benefits for the use of this because of the gadgets that they need. Though it's very expensive, but we appeal. Even if it's small tablets, like the previous government started, we encourage and appeal to the government to make those small gadgets available for the learners. If not 1:1, at least every school should have it.
For Joy News, my name is Clinton Yabua.
Now, 3 days, hundreds of patrons, dozens of vendors, and one powerful message. Home ownership, dreams are within reach. The Ecobank Joy News Habitat Fair Clinic at the Achimota Retail Center has wrapped up on a high note, brimming with energy and satisfaction. From exclusive discounts to expert guidance, attendees say the experience exceeded expectations. Vendors, too, are beaming as their goals are met. Jacqueline Ansumayabwa brings us a wrap.
These metal doors on the second end, oh my goodness, they're absolutely wonderful.
Throughout the weekend, the fairgrounds buzzed with excitement as foot traffic steadily grew. Patrons came with diverse goals, some in search of land, others seeking interior design inspiration, and many simply eager to learn. But they all left with one thing in common, a deep sense of satisfaction.
Oh, it's actually been amazing. I mean, they've been friendly enough. One lady actually assisted me. Was actually dragging me to download an app and buy one of their services, and I think it's a good thing.
Amazing. When I was driving through, I heard they were interviewing few reps here, and it was interesting. I've visited few stands.
They have interesting offerings, so I think I'll encourage everyone to come here and, you know.
I was about to tell you that you should tell the camera that whoever is not here should make it here.
Yeah, so make it here before 6.
Returning and first-time exhibitors say this edition brought in genuine buyers, great visibility and strong leads.
As the day goes by, we get more people coming in to do more requests. So today has been a very busy day for me. As you can see, I'm sweating profusely on my face. Yeah. So thank you so much for this platform to market ourselves and what we sell. We thank you so much.
Experience is very splendid, very wonderful. I mean, it's been amazing getting more customers there. It's so nice. So we look forward in partnering with you people for long, because we wouldn't have come this time around if we are not soliciting or getting any good something in return. It has been a massive change since we partner with Joy Prime, and we look forward partnering with you people. We are going to Koforidua.
Head of Marketing at the Multimedia Group, Max Fuga, says the success of the Achimota Clinic is only the beginning. He assured patrons that more mini clinics are on the way, or building momentum toward the main event later this year.
The next clinic will be next month at the Accra Mall. From the Accra Mall, we are going to Tema. From Tema, we are going to Koforidua, which is the new addition this year. And then the main fair will take place in August at the Accra International Conference Center.
As the lights dim on the Achimota edition, one thing is clear: the path to affordable, comfortable and luxurious living is just getting started. Jacqueline Ansumayebo's report read to you.
To me, can I get a little bit of discounts? There are no discounts here. Oh, there are.
Little discounts because the margins are tight, but we do the best to make the customers happy. So.
All right, so we now have a statement from the Ghana Highways Authority, and I need to share details of that statement with you now. And so if we can have the statement on screen, I'd quickly read through it. And there you have it. It says, public notice, temporary lane reduction on the north-south bound carriageway. That's Medina to Accra and vice versa, the Tetekwashi interchange, Accra Tema Motorway, and extensions project. That's 19.5 kilometers. Now, the Ghana Highway Authority, acting on behalf of the Ministry of Roads and Highways, wishes to inform the public and all road users of an upcoming traffic management arrangement as part of the ongoing construction works on the Accra Tema Motorway and extensions project. Now, to facilitate central pier construction works for the expansion of the Tetekwashi Interchange Bridge, the number of lanes on the north-south bound carriageway, that's Medina to Accra direction and vice versa, will be temporarily reduced from 4 lanes to 3. This adjustment will take effect from Sunday, 22nd June 2025, and is expected to last for 4 months. The lane reduction is necessary to provide safe working space for construction personnel and to ensure the continued safety of all road users. We kindly urge motorists to exercise caution, follow directional signs, and cooperate with traffic management officials throughout the duration of the work. For further information, please contact the Public Affairs Division via the WhatsApp number. That's 055-162-2244. And of course, it's issued by the Public Affairs Division and copies all media houses. But let's have you take a look at what this exact statement will look like. For those of you who are wondering how this reduction is going to look like on the road, we have some visuals to show you.
Ghana Highway Authority, acting on behalf of the Ministry of Roads and Highways, wishes to inform the public and all road users of an upcoming traffic management arrangement as part of the ongoing construction works on the Accra-Tema Motorway End Extensions project. To facilitate Central Pier construction works for the expansion of the Tetekwashi Interchange Bridge, the number of lanes on the north-south bound carriageway, thus Medina to Accra direction and vice versa, will be temporarily reduced from 4 lanes to 3 lanes. This adjustment will take effect from Sunday, 22nd of June, 2025, and it's expected to last for 4 months. The lane reduction is necessary to provide safe working space for construction personnel and to ensure the continued safety of all road users. We kindly urge motorists to exercise caution, follow directional signs, and cooperate with traffic management officials throughout the duration of the work. For further information, please contact the Public Affairs Division via WhatsApp 055-162-2244. This announcement is by the kind courtesy of the Public Affairs Division of the Ghana Highway Authority.
And on that road reduction note, I guess it's the news segment is done. I get to make way for Sweetie to take it away with the business segment. Welcome to our business update segment. And for our very first story, the first Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Zakaria Mumuni, has highlighted the growing impact of mobile money services in advancing financial inclusion in Ghana. Speaking at the 2025 Africa Financial Inclusion Policy Initiative meetings in Accra, Dr. Mumuni underscored the urgent need to address mobile money fraud and strengthen public trust in digital financial ecosystem.
Mobile money accounts now exceed 70 million, introducing millions of first-time users into formal finance. And here we have been talking about inclusion. This is one area where in Ghana we are having an explosion and getting a lot of people to be financially included in the ecosystem. But with this growth also comes greater exposure. Complaints about failed transactions, fraud, and service disruptions are rising. Our response has been multifaceted, strengthening consumer protection, including complaint resolution protocols and disclosure standards. Expanding financial literacy, particularly for women, youth, and the underserved communities. Partnering with schools, religious bodies, and civil society organizations to promote digital safety and early awareness. We believe that financial inclusion must be built on trust. Trust in the system, trust in providers, and trust that grievances will be addressed fairly and swiftly.
So that's our only business story for you this morning. And coming up next, still on the news belt, is the AM Sports, anchored by Muftau Nabila Abdullahi.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AM Sports here with me, Mustapha Nabila Abdullah. We bring you a story that has to do with Accra House of Folk, and they have been hit with a transfer ban by the Ghana Football Association for failing to pay $70,000 due New ADPRC United. The GFA Disciplinary Committee, in a ruling on May 8, had given the club up to until May 31 to make full payment of the money to the Division 1 club, failure of which they were going to suffer a transfer ban. This is a decision that the Ghana Football Association, which issued and exclusively gotten by Joy Sports Sunday morning. And the statement had, or the ruling had said that in accordance with Article 15.3 of the statutes of the Ghana Football Association, Article 15 and Article 53 of the GFA Disciplinary Code 2019, the Disciplinary Committee, hereinafter referred as the committee, considered the ruling of Player Status Committee together with all the supporting attachments, the record of proceedings of Player Status Committee. So just go straight to the ruling or the decision by the Ghana Football Association, of which which has now been imposed on Accra House of Oak. And this is a decision. This is what the Ghana Football Association Disciplinary Committee says. It says, pursuant to Article 15.1a of the GFA Disciplinary Code, Accra House of Oak is hereby fined an amount of 5,000 Ghana cedis for failing to comply with the Player Status Committee's decision. This fine is payable to the GFA upon receipt of this enforcement decision on or before May 21, 2025. It goes on to say that pursuant to Article 15.1b of the GFA Disciplinary Code, it says that Accra House of Oak is hereby, Accra House of Oak failing to pay the amounts, deadline full of payment of $70,000 to New ADPRC as per decision of the Player Status Committee on or before May 31, 2025. It also says that pursuant to Article 15.1c of the GFA Disciplinary Code, failing to pay the amount stated in Decision 1 and 2, the club shall suffer a transfer ban, both domestic and international, until full payment of the amount. Should Accra House of Oak fail to comply with the decisions 1 and 2 on or before the deadline mentioned above. It also says that in accordance with Article 15.2 of the GFA Disciplinary Code, Accra House of Oak is hereby warned to comply with this decision strictly. Failing with the sanctions threatened in Decision 3 above shall be applied automatically by the Ghana Football Association, its bodies or committees, IT department of the GFA, and all departments of the Ghana Football Association. And we've published a detailed story on myjoyonline.com. That story was published Sunday evening. New ADPRC had written to the Ghana Football Association on June 13, telling the Ghana FA that Accra House of Oak has failed to make the payment. And this has to do with the transfer of Salim Adams from New ADPRC to Accra House of Oak. The two parties had agreed to, Accra House of Oak had agreed to pay New ADPRC $120,000 for signing the player. In that agreement, they have said that anytime they have an opportunity of transferring the player, they were going to give 40% of that money to New ADPRC United. In total, House of Oak were expected to make about $1 million when the player made a move to the United States of America, specifically to FC Cincinnati. Unfortunately, the guy did not make the cut and had to return to the country. House of Oak and New ADPRC had a meeting in March. In that meeting, House of Oak asked New ADPRC United to write off the debt because the boy did not make the cut. Hence, the business had gone bad. New ADPRC agreed, but said that, okay, when we reached an agreement for the player to move, you had given me $50,000, right? You were supposed to give me $70,000 more. Unfortunately, since the deal has gone bad, we can reach an amicable agreement. In that meeting, House of Oak had agreed to give him $20,000 whilst he will write off the rest of the debt. Unfortunately, House of Oak apparently did not adhere to the agreement that was signed between the two clubs in March. And after ADPRC wrote to the Ghana Football Association telling them the House of Oak has failed to adhere to the agreement, House of Folk called New ADBRC and asked them to come and take the $20,000. This was just last week. ADBRC says, we reached an agreement in March, you failed to adhere, we are not taking the $20,000 anymore, we want $70,000 instead. And that is why Accra House of Folk has been sanctioned by the Ghana Football Association. Also, Legon cities, they've also been hit with the transfer ban for also failing to pay their former player, Francis Addo, 29,000 Ghana cedis. In fact, they were given a payment plan in 3 forms, of which 10,000 was supposed to be paid by December 23, 2024. That's the first tranche of payment. Second tranche was supposed to be paid by January 21. And the last transfer payment, or the last amount of the money was supposed to be paid, which was like 9,000 Ghana cedis, was supposed to be paid on February 23. Legon cities, unfortunately, were also unable to meet those deadlines. And they've also been hit with a transfer ban, which starts in this transfer window. So currently, House of Folk, Legon cities cannot sign players. That is what is happening. Now let's move on and talk women's football. The Black Queens are getting ready for the African Women's Cup of Nations that will be staged in Morocco next week. Ghana opened their preparatory campaign with a 3-1 win over Malawi, courtesy of goals from Doris Boudoua.
Otherwise, we are the better team the whole game. We are producing so many chances. We win the game with 3-1, but if you're looking at the chances, we can score probably 6-7 today. But the most important is to win and to play good and create more chances. And this was a big step in the right direction. I think we had a better fighting spirit today. I actually felt that we won the middle. I also felt, we created more chances, like I said. Had a chance to score so many goals, so that's very positive. Overall, I think the defense was pretty well, even if the opponent had one of the best attacking players in the world. We controlled her the most of the time, at least. So that was a good experience for us to play against top player. But like I said, I felt that we did a good game. We still is missing a few players that is with their club team. The FIFA window is open up the 23rd, so it will be another like 6-7 players here that we can add to this squad. So there will potentially be some rotations for the future. But our strength is that we have so many like good players, so we can actually change the 2-3 players and keep the quality. And it showed a little bit today that we did some rotations and we still had a good quality. We are working hard now. And you can see like the time we are spending together right now is actually really helping us. And it's the first time for me as a coach that I can spend so much time with this group. And the performance today, it was the best one so far that we have played, I would say, together maybe with the Morocco game.
A little over 24 years ago, about 126 football fans lost their lives when they went to the Accra Sports Stadium to watch a Ghana Premier League match between House of Folk and Asante Kotoko. The actions that led to the demise of about 126 football fans, hooliganism continued to find its way into the very fibre of Ghana football. 24 years on, hooliganism has outlived the warning that has given to many football fans, saying that never again. But early this year, a football fan even lost his life. Many people have decided to end their career in football because of hooliganism. One of such players is a former Real Tamale United player, Abdul Nawaz. He's been speaking to my colleague, Haruna Mubarak, in our latest documentary, Scars of Hooliganism.
Players, the heartbeat of the sport, are not spared. Their only crime was wearing the badge of their club with pride. On February 7, 2021, Abubakar Nawaz was living his dream, playing for Tamale-based side Real Tamale United. In a Division 1 league match against Nswatreman in Nswatre, he encountered the darkest moment of his career.
We were going to our dressing room and there was this lady. I think there's this one particular lady, the recent incident, they mentioned her name. She was standing at the exit where we will pass. So our captain was coming to enter and he pushed him back. So then he went ahead to even slap our captain. So our captain was also trying to retaliate. Then the whole incident started. They started stoning us from all angles. You will run and pass here, a stone is coming. Run and pass here, a stone is coming. So I was just there, and one boy shouted, "Adibayo." When I just turned, a stone came and hit my head. And that...
Which part of your head?
I think it was here. So it was very unfortunate because the stone was heavy, and God really saved me because that stone that hit me, and I think I was injured. I was bleeding. All my dress was full of blood.
And this documentary will be coming your way at 8:30 a.m. on the AM show and hotline at 8:30 p.m. later tonight. It is also on radio at Joy FM 99.7 on the Super Morning show at 8:30 a.m. as well. Now, let's talk Summer Olympics. And Olympic Day in Ghana was commemorated on Saturday. The National Sports Authority and the Ghana Olympic Committee assembled at the Accra Sports Stadium to celebrate the Olympic movement. My colleague Lawrence Bedu was there and has details in this report.
From the early hours of the morning, hundreds gathered in Accra, dressed in an Olympic-themed t-shirts. The celebration began with a symbolic Olympic Day walk starting from the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum through to the Osu Castle and back to the Accra Sports Stadium, drawing athletes, students, and sports enthusiasts from all walks of life. The energy was on a high with aerobic sections that got both the young and old moving. It wasn't just about exercise, it was about unity, inspiration, and inclusion, which are the core values of the Olympic movement. The Ghana Olympic Committee president explained the importance of marking the celebration.
Oh, it's an important day for the Olympic movement because we are celebrating Olympic Day. It's a global event for all countries. So it's important for us to let the people of Ghana, especially the young people, know about the Olympic movement and what it stands for. So it's a very important day for us.
So the Olympic movement was formed on the 23rd of June 1824. So for us to commemorate is just to give the spirit of Olympism, which commemorates the respect, the activity in sports, bringing people to know what sports is about, friendship and respect.
Youth engagement was a major focus. Attendees had the opportunity to interact with national athletes, fostering inspiration and future dreams. The National Sports Authority Director General, Yao Ampofu Ankra, reiterated his role in the commemoration of the day.
Excellence, friendship, respect, and these are core values not only in sport but across life. So the National Sports Authority, we deal with 54 federations and beyond, locally and globally. So the tenets of the Olympic Day is very important, and it helps us to also execute our mandate. And it's natural that we're here to show solidarity, not just with the Ghana Olympic Committee, but all the sports federations and associations. So it's very vital that we show our presence with all the executives and members here.
As the event wrapped up, the message was clear. The Olympic spirit is alive in Ghana. The Ghana Olympic Committee was satisfied with the turnout for the celebration.
Very satisfied because over the last couple of years, we haven't had this event for some time now. So it's something new that this administration is bring him back. And so we are happy with the first attempt because we came to office only beginning of May. So, and this is already something we are doing. So next year will be bigger and better so that we'll get more people involved in what Olympic movement stands for.
Throughout the walk, the Ghana Supporters Union were with the participants, thrilling them with a musical interlude.
Let's do some tennis now, and the Africa 10 Foundation, in partnership with the Ghana Tennis Federation, organized a tennis clinic at the Accra Sports Stadium to enhance the technical know-how of coaches and also give talents an opportunity to understand the rudiments of tennis. My colleague Razak Mustapha has details in this report.
Tennis is gaining real momentum in Ghana, with more and more young people showing interest in the sport. Inspired by global legends like Arthur Ashe, Althea Gibson, Serena Williams, and Katrina Adams, and more recently by the success of Ghanaian-Italian Jasmine Paolini at the Italian Open and Coco Gauff at Roland Garros, young Ghanaian players are dreaming bigger. To help fuel that passion and support the sport's growth, the African 10 Foundation, in partnership with the Ghana Tennis Federation, held a two-day development clinic in Accra. Former pros Katrina Adams and Roger Smith, along with some experts, led the sessions, working with a group of carefully selected coaches and junior players. The coaches were trained in modern, high-performance techniques, while the players received practical tips on how to improve their game both physically and mentally.
And that sports is really about leadership. I think they've learnt how they can improve their own leadership styles, how they can connect more with the children. And so I think, in the children's question and answer session on the second day has been also just amazing to see these bright children with, really wanting to improve on their game. And and it was great, the wisdom that Katrina and Roger shared.
20-time WTA doubles champion and former Wimbledon semi-finalist Katrina Adams urged the young athletes to make the most of the opportunity.
It's been a pleasure. I mean, hopefully, with me and Roger Smith being here, that these kids have really learned some things, building their confidence, knowing that there's an opportunity for them to develop as tennis players, here in Ghana, to compete, not only here but abroad. The talent that they have is really special. A lot of these kids are, they learn visually. They've been able to come into some of the programs here and really develop more. They've got coaches here that really care about them. More importantly, we've been able to really work with the coaches and elevate their skills and their thought process and how they can work with these players. And that's what we wanted to leave behind.
On his part, Roger Smith, who is a top Caribbean player and Olympian for the Bahamas, called for more support to be given to local coaches who are shaping the next generation.
If you want to get the coaches to fully commit to development and increase their education of development, they're going to need some help. That's the number one thing I got from the coaches. They need help. They're doing it on their own right now, and they're doing a hell of a job. So if there's any way for them to get some kind of some money to help them along the way. And the money, remember, to the coaches goes anyway to the kids. So it's like giving it to the kids because they really need that mentorship and that coaching.
Over 5.
That is your sports. For now, we'll have more sports stories on myjoyonline.com. And also do not forget, today we bring you Scars of Hooliganism, the nemesis that has left Ghana football, what many have described as a carcass. And that documentary was put together by my colleague, Haruna Obarak. We appreciate your company. The newspaper review comes your way up next.
And you're live on the Joy News channel for the AM show, and it's time now for us to review the newspapers. But remember that the AM show is sponsored by Waylead Properties, and we keep inviting you to engage in a rewarding investment at Waylead Company Limited, because Waylead Company Limited is a real estate company with several developments to its credit right here in Accra. And you want to invest in Willow Lane, their latest development, where elegance will always meet tranquility in the heart of Accra. We provide quality housing at affordable costs with flexible payment options, as well as 24-hour security, reliable power supply, and other social amenities to make your stay a memorable one. Why don't you give us a call on these numbers? 0240 111 119 or 0504 499 999. You can also visit our website at www.waylead.org. And that brings us into the news review proper. And Noella Kariniale is here, and both of us will be sharing the conversations, and she'll introduce our guest to you. Right, so joining us for the newspaper review is Victoria Bright. She's a lawyer, an entrepreneur, and former legal advisor to former President Kufuor. She will be joining us via Zoom. We also have James Kwabena-Bonfe Jr. He's the CEO of the Census, and of course he's seated right here, flanked by two beautiful ladies. He must be feeling very lucky this morning. You're welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. I feel very natural. Born among women. I'm flanked by two women from birth.
Oh, okay. I see.
Two older than me and two younger than me. So
good for you.
I'm in a natural setting.
Let's try and see if Victoria's microphone and everything works well. Good morning, Vicky.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
We are fabulous. Thanks for joining us all the way from another continent. So let's start with you then. You know, we usually give our guests a minute or two to walk us through any reflections they may have on a topical issue. What's caught your attention over the weekend up till now?
Well, actually, nothing to do with politics. I saw an interesting reportage about an onion seller who's suing Telecel for 2 million cedis. Because allegedly a picture of her image has been plastered all over billboards in a commercial of some kind. And so it's interesting because we don't often get these kinds of cases here. And for me as a lawyer, it's interesting because I don't know whether many people know that your image actually qualifies as personal data under data protection and privacy laws. And also generally using someone's image for advertising without permission, especially on a billboard, is an infringement of a copyright. So I'm interested, and it will be interesting to see how the case, progresses.
Interesting, Professor Bonfe. Or should I say Mr. Bonfe, I should say. Doc?
Bonfe is fine. I'm not a professor.
I'm elevated. Maybe you should consider that then.
Well, it's a rank in your progression as an academic and intellectual, if you so desire and commit yourself to. We're not there yet. And I'm happy to be here. My reflections have been more on some work that the Center for Citizenship, Constitutional and Electoral Systems succeeded in coming out with a codes for citizenship, and what they have dubbed 11 commandments of citizenship, largely drawing on Article 41 of the 1992 Constitution, and namely patriotism, loyalty, unity, respect, diligence, stewardship, community, service, cooperation, honesty, and above all, dedication to the cause of Ghana, and to engage in conservation for sustainable environment. If all citizens of this country will abide by the dictates or the pointers and guides that we find in Article 41, be the president, ministers of state, ordinary citizens and workers of this country, I am sure many of the problems that we complain consistently about will be things of the past. Because they call for us to live certain lifestyles dedicated to conserving the environment, ensuring that we don't pollute water, ensuring that if we are engaging in farming activity, our areas of work, we don't overdo things to the detriment of the future. The moment you talk about sustainability, you are thinking about those who are yet to be born. And so we will not engage in illegal mining for it to become an albatross around our necks, and we are asking how to fight it at the expense of the taxpayer.
Right.
Where are those doing it? So these are things that we should reflect about, that citizenship is a key to good leadership.
Is this accessible to the general public?
Yes, Article 41 of the 1992 Constitution.
No, you listed some things of...
We are sharing them. I'll share them with you.
Okay.
And I think maybe you can project them. I've shared them with Kingsley, our producer. So maybe he can project them before
in the course of the conversation, right? So let's get straight into the newspapers. It's been a very newsy weekend, Noella. And I know your eye has caught a particular story that you want to start off with. So let's get right into it. In fact, because he mentioned illegal mining, there's a story, an interesting one here I wanted us to focus on. But before then, let me share with us some of the top stories on the news center. It says, Kenya, Japan rejects top-down elections, religious ethnic politics harmful. That's from Dr. Baumia. Is that the news center? Yeah, that's the news center. Also, Republic Bank to train SLCB staff under landmark MOU, and 10 of top 11 causes of death killing more men in Ghana. 2.9 million deaths not registered. That's coming from also the news center. And Coca urges unity at constituency chairman conference. But the story I am referring to is on page 4. It says, and this is coming from the Chinese ambassador, who says that Ghanaians recruit Chinese into galamsey. So let me read, the details, and then, we can deliberate on that. It says the Chinese ambassador to Ghana, Mr. Tong Defa, has shifted the spotlight in Ghana's ongoing illegal mining crisis, arguing it is Ghanaians themselves who recruit and enable Chinese nationals to participate in galamsey, not the other way around. And he challenged the prevailing narrative that blames Chinese nationals indiscriminately for the scourge, insisting instead that local actors play a central role in facilitating and profiting from illegal mining. It's unfair. And this is a foreign national, Chinese ambassador to Ghana, saying that it is us Ghanaians that actually recruit them and not the other way around, as we've always believed. What do you make of this?
Well, I think that for those who have, followed my engagement and activism in the extractive sector over the years or decades, the position is very clear. No foreigner knows our land and our minerals better than us. If you take the surveys and the geological surveys in particular, that point to as far back as 1913 to 1925, when the geologists at the time discovered that the entire land bed of this country has gold beneath. And so if we are not careful and we want to mine, even underneath this building, we could discover that there's some deposits there. And so if we don't choose to have no-go areas, we might mine our entire selves. Now, which foreigner can come in and go out there without any information? Don't forget that the references I've made go far back. And so the availability of some of that information to foreigners is also there. And with the advance of technology today, someone can come with devices and be able to go in. However, nobody can go into any part of this country's land and operate without being seen by the indigenous. Now, when we see that, what do? What's our reaction? And I always say that unless and until our people, ourselves, we choose that we no longer want to do certain things, we'll be taken for granted. And I agree with him that Chinese on their own cannot. Don't forget that small-scale mining, which is the conduit they use, is limited to Ghanaians. No foreigner can come and engage in small-scale mining. So how do they procure the licenses. And there are 4 licenses involved, at least to the best of my reading and understanding of the mining sector. You have, first, the reconnaissance license, which is exploratory in nature.
Yeah.
You just go and like...
Recce.
Yeah, guessing,
Yeah.
recce, reconnaissance. Then you have got an exploratory license, which is granted to actually go deeper to and understand the quantum of gold that there is and which areas it is to cover and so on and so forth. So you have to see the magnitude also of the damage that would result from there. Then you have got an environmental impact assessment license, which is the third. It is after that environmental impact assessment, which would tell the cost-benefit analysis. Then a mining lease is granted. At any of these stages, you know, the law is clear as to how and who can be granted the license. So yes, we have Chinese here, we can blame them all we want. But the truth of the matter is that without our complicity, foreigners cannot. Now, what are the factors? What are the factors? I don't think that we have managed our land regime very well. Our chiefs and elders, and so on and so forth. And the law, the constitution of this country says that those who exercise right as family heads on behalf of, and family lands are owned by families. As for the chiefs and stool lands and so on and so forth, it's for administrative purposes. In Ghana, land ownership is in the hands of individuals and families. So those who exercise leadership or who exercise right over them by signing as a pension and all that, the constitution says that from time to time they are to account to their people. How many of our people account for their stewardship over the lands? So the administration and management of land issues come in. But what I want to say on this matter is that if we don't change the land regime, the law regime on mining in Ghana, it won't work. And this is what I mean. You have the law in Article 257, Clause 6, and the Minerals and Mining Law 2006, Act 703, say that, Section 1, if you find any mineral in Ghana, wherever, that mineral belongs to the state, and it is held in trust for and on behalf of the people by the president. What it means automatically then is that the state can enter that property or that land forcibly. You are only entitled to compensation. And 100% since you have been denied ownership, but its exploitation will result into damages that only you will suffer. I don't think I'll be happy with that. And we have done this over the years. So some of us are proposing that change the law on ownership of the mineral. Rather than give 100% to the state and say that the president should hold it in trust, and the president can give anybody license to go wherever and mine without even the consent of the people, change the ownership. Make it 60 or 50% to the state. Give 30% to the landowners, or if you like 25, and give the local authorities or local assembly another 25. Sweetie, I tell you that the people will protect the exploitation with their necks because they know that you have a share in it. Not that you come and give them what we call royalties, which is often paid in wherever we want, and it doesn't really get to the people. But we must change the law.
Right.
A legal regime on mining.
Okay.
And ownership.
Before we go to Victoria Bright, what about that strategy that the government proposed about circulating the commanders, the police, what's it called? Yeah, commanders in charge of particular areas. So if there's galamsey happening in your community or your district, they're taking you out and bringing somebody in. Does that help? Because then you are accountable to the people and to the government as to how you manage to let the people enter the land and degrade our forests.
I like to quote my good friend, the late Justice Professor A.K.P. Kluje. You see, we always want to deal with the after effect. I'm talking about preventive.
Okay.
What you are proposing is the after effect.
Well, not what I'm proposing.
No, not you, but what most people are saying.
Yeah.
So it's the after effect. Let's deal with the causal factors.
Okay.
Before we get there. But you see, if the code of citizenship that we are outlined. Patriotism, loyalty, honesty, sincerity. These are guiding a police officer. And the police officer, male or female, is conducting him or herself well. What would be the need to transfer that person?
All right, let's go to Vicky right now. And Noella, Vicky, so it looks like they say, the Chinese are saying...
So they're saying that Ghanaians, contrary to what we believe,
we are responsible.
Yeah, we are actually responsible.
I agree with them.
They said they don't have the legal capacity to.
And it actually gets interesting. It says galamsey cannot be eliminated. That's still coming from the ambassador.
So, well, that one I disagree with him. They will not. You see, that's where they get complacent.
Right.
Because it's in their interest.
Right. But before you come in with that, let's hear from Miss Victoria Bright.
Hi. No. Well. It's interesting because clearly Ghana is our country, right? It's not China. I cannot get up, you cannot get up and go to China and just start mining, somewhere in the country where there's mineral resources. And the same principle applies to our country. Nobody can get up and just start mining. And Kwabena has been through the various licenses and permits that you need to mine anywhere in Ghana. So, he's right in the sense that Chinese nationals can't just walk into any forest reserves in Ghana and start mining. They will need Ghanaians to participate in that activity. Ghanaians would need to be complicit. And by Ghanaians, I mean that, every area here in this country, in Ghana, has a traditional ruler of some sort, So if you go to a village to mine or a region to mine, there will be some traditional authorities there. That land can either be stool land or family land. And in each case, it's controlled by Ghanaians. The stool, the chiefs are Ghanaian, the families are Ghanaian. So it is true that Ghanaians allow this to happen. Ghanaians allow this to happen. And we all know that these small-scale licenses can only be issued to Ghanaians, Ghanaian nationals. So clearly, either Ghanaians are actually obtaining the license on behalf of allowing themselves to be used as proxy to obtain the license on behalf of some of these foreign nationals, or they are doing some kind of JV with them, or they are obtaining the licenses in their own right and then doing some JV with them, maybe getting them to bring the machines, or because these excavators are not cheap, they are very expensive. Even the second-hand ones are extremely expensive. So we are to blame. And at the end of the day, it's not China that's been degraded, it's Ghana. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at the effects on Ghanaians. So why would we do this to our own people? If you allow someone to exploit you, they will exploit you. And it's not just on a country-to-country basis, it's in human relations. People treat you how you allow them to treat you. So my question, and the thing that I always keep wondering about, is how Ghanaians can be so cruel to each other. I mean, why are you doing this? What level of greed will drive you to actually wreak havoc on your own citizenry? Because the impact of this, as we all now know, is very far-reaching. Quite apart from the destruction to our forest reserves, and I understand 44 out of the 200 and whatever it is, 80 or so, 80 something, are now completely gone. And if we allow this to continue, we know the water, Ghana Water has complained that it will get to a point where they cannot even purify the water anymore. Some of us, probably all of us by now, are consuming some level of mercury or the other, whether you're sitting in Accra or you're in Dumpa or wherever. So, and children are being born with defects. So there are health conditions, there are all sorts of... Little kids are getting their periods at 6 years old, 8 years old, and there are a lot of kidney. We have all these renal problems, and some of it has been traced back to this galamsey issue. So the effects are so far-reaching on us, and yet consistently, Ghanaians are actually doing this. So I don't know why we just don't, why we do this to each other. So I don't blame the Chinese ambassador at all.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I don't. Because it's our country, and if we're allowing ourselves to, if we are hell-bent on destroying our country and causing health problems for our citizenry, what has it got to do with China or with any other country? It's us. It's on us.
Well, thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Victoria Bright. Well, we've now been joined by Mustapha Bande. He's late. What happened? You were caught in traffic?
They're late.
I think I was caught up in a bit of traffic.
Okay.
I caused the traffic.
I had to obey the laws without having to break sin.
I see. You're looking smart this morning.
Thank you. Of course, Kabila is here.
Oh, okay. I mean, we've been discussing.
I have to distinguish between his being in opposition and my being in government.
Anyway.
Well, so Mustapha Bande is Deputy Director of Operations at the Office of the Presidency, and he's joining us now. But Noella, we're discussing something. You can put it in.
Of course. I'm sure you've been following the conversation, Mustapha. It's about the Chinese ambassador to Ghana actually stating that, contrary to what we believe, that the Chinese are responsible for a significant number of illegal mining activities. They say that it's actually Ghanaians that recruit them. And he also says that galamsey cannot be eliminated. And his reason is quite interesting. He says, instead of us to focus on eliminating galamsey, we should rather look at how we protect the environmental consequences.
Well, first of all, good morning and good morning to our cherished listeners, including Madam on the Zoom. I think that we cannot have this conversation conclusively without looking at making references to the past. And I've said that in this country we've had illegal mining issues for decades. But the awakening came when all of us decided that the effects are so high, there was a need to fight same. In the last 8 years, the mentality of the Chinese ambassador coincides with what President Akufo-Addo left us as Ghanaians. Because much as we're willing to fight illegal mining, President Akufo-Addo actually went into a hidden partnership with the Chinese, where our forest reserves, particular, was given on a silver platter to these people, including officials in government. And what is even more dangerous is that they didn't have the temerity to do, responsible mining. What is illegal about mining is your adherence to the laws regulating mining, i.e. the Minerals Commission regulations and then the EPA regulations. They did so with flagrant disregard to these laws, where if you check in the last 8 years, the number of excavators imported in this country is unprecedented. And all of these excavators were sent to our forest reserves without, one, any regard to the forest itself, two, without any deliberate, steps to ensure that through the Ministry of Lands, through Minerals Commission and through EPA, these mining activities that President Akufo-Addo allowed to extend to our forest reserves was regulated. It was free for all for his appointees and with his concurrence. Here we have come, 5 months, 6 months down the line. We have not yet prosecuted the individuals who have gone into our forest reserve because, mind you, if you are given a mining lease to mine in the forest reserve, it ties you into ensuring that you do responsible mining. So much as we are, at the neck of Chamanun to me for illegal mining, the same should apply to whether you are a Chinese or any other individual who was given a mining lease to mine in the forest reserve, and we are all aware that they've not done responsible mining, particularly
reclamation and reforestation. Now, the MPP suddenly expect that...
Mustapha, before you continue, I just want to acknowledge the MCE for Cape Coast Metropolitan Assembly, George Justice Arthur. We'll be discussing that massive demolition exercise happening in Cape Coast. So, Mr. Justice Arthur, welcome to the program. Stay with us. We'll come to you in a bit. Okay, go ahead.
I am aware that in the last 5 months, there have been some surgical military intervention in our forest reserves led by the Minister for Defense to recover or to reclaim these forests from persons who've been given licenses to mine in these forest reserves. I'm also aware that the current Minister for Interior, Honorable Mutaka Mubarak, vigorously is seizing excavators with a regulation to try and, control importation, movement of excavators in and within mining regions, such that the authorities or government authorities will be aware of where a particular excavator is being sent to, so that we can monitor their activities. I am also aware that the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources is trying to reorganize what we call small-scale mining to ensure that whatever they do is in compliance with our laws and whatever is required to do to protect our environment.
That sort of agrees with what the Chinese ambassador said.
Well, of course.
We should focus on the aftermath, fixing the aftermath, rather than solving the galamsey.
I will not. No, that comment should not be coming from the Chinese ambassador, because you see, the Chinese are an integral part of the threat on our environment as far as mining is concerned. So it doesn't lie in his mouth to say these things, because in the last 6 months, majority of the people who have been caught in illegal mining are Chinese. And when the minister tried to, extradite them, they get offended. Because when you have your nationals coming into our country to leave us with these devastating effects of irresponsible mining, when in your country you cannot do that, you should be worried. Just as government of Ghana is worried and trying to deal with the issue as a social security matter, where we have to ensure that livelihood continues, but we protect our environment and our vegetation. It shouldn't be coming from the Chinese ambassador. I'm saying that the Chinese, with President Akufo-Addo, are the ones who have left us with this greatest devastation in the last 8 years. And I have been advocating that any individual who have been given a list to mine, we should have police and a combined unit of intelligence officers going into the communities to investigate and ascertain the persons who have mined, destroyed our streams, prosecute those individuals. Now, I am also aware that the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources have been introducing what we call reorganizing of what the MPP brought. They call it, they have a name for it. They are community mining.
Okay.
We are going into some sort of cooperative mining, where small scale will no longer be an individual, but a group of small scale miners coming together, take a particular concession, they are being regulated to mine. You cannot get up and go and say that you have banned mining completely, when we all do know that even in the small scale mining, it is not everybody that is doing illegal mining. There are individuals who are mining small scale, but doing so responsibly without destroying water bodies.
Again, let me interject at this point. That's why in the lead up to election 2024, the demands were pause all small-scale mining to restructure it. That didn't happen. Repeal LI 2462. That hasn't happened. We're talking about an amendment as we speak. Declare some sort of temporary state of emergency. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
So, it lies within our hands as Ghanaians to question you and say that why aren't you doing the things that you agreed to lead up to the election now that you're in office?
Look, as far as I'm concerned, President Mahama and our government have given fidelity to commitment to fight illegal mining. I know that because the number of excavators that have been impounded in the last 1 month are a lot. If you check with the Ghana Police Service, and most of these people are persons who are mining. So you may not necessarily have stopped mining, but you are identifying places where they are mining illegally and decommissioning the tools that they use to mine. And one of such tools has to do with excavators. It cannot all be done in a day. But I think that if we have had this commitment in the last 8 years, our government would have built upon what was done in the last 8 years. But we are here starting from ground zero, where we have to deal with the challenges that will come from our own party, plus what President Akufo-Addo and his government have left. And that is very enormous. You, Joy FM, you did documentaries on these things. Does that mean that after change of government, the devastation is suddenly taken away? It compounds rather. Whatever has been done, the pits that were dug and left unattended to in the last 8 years are still pits that give us devastation. The mining that blocked the flow of river bodies and streams. We have not yet invested money to go and straighten, to trench these streams to ensure that they are flowing. And so most of the rivers are now stagnant.
So in summary, are you saying that the government is taking this fight as seriously as the Ghanaian
Look, President Mahama has made it very clear. President Mahama has made it very clear that one, no government appointee should be involved in mining. Let's talk of, small-scale mining or illegal mining. You didn't see that same commitment in the last 8 years because President Akufo-Addo actually sanctioned it. He supervised it where his appointees were miners. And we have evidence of these things all over the place. Right. Number two, the government have made it very clear that whoever is engaged in illegal mining will face the law. So it is up to all of us to expose persons and individuals within and outside government who are engaged or who support illegal mining to continue. But as far as I'm concerned, I just told you the Minister of Defense's commitment and contribution. I just told you the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources commitment and contribution. I just also told you for the first time the unprecedented commitment of the Minister for Interior, where people have been even extradited for being arrested for these things. It is for us to support and ensure that government is on course. We should not, just be calling for state of emergency. As a student of security, and Kabila is here, I'm sure that you agree. State of emergency is not something you just have to impose. Look, as we speak today, the forest reserves are a no-go area. You have seen the calculated, deliberate, surgical attack by the military on these places. As we speak, you have evidence that most of these forest reserves
Mr. wrap up on this
are being retrieved. And so where is the need for state of emergency when the internal systems to fight illegal mining is actually commitment, and that commitment is seen and is visible? Two, making sure that the institutions that are responsible are working, and those institutions are working more than they have worked before. Right. Would you say that we are not doing anything and that we should wake up and declare state of emergency when your dollar is coming down, when your economy is being revived, largely because of good regulations? So it's a matter that we need to handle with tact, carefulness, and all of that.
So you're saying that you're doing some work. The demands that the Ghanaian made,
yes,
we may not necessarily see that materialize, but you're doing the best that you can to fix the problem and then solve it in totality.
Ghanaians will see our river bodies being cleared up again. Ghanaians will see some sort of stability in terms of our mining industry.
You just said something that I think that you owe it to all of us and the listeners.
Yeah.
Which appointee of Akufo-Addo was involved in illegal mining?
What? Do you want us to go?
No, mention one.
No, are you their
I don't have to be their spokesperson.
But you are not their spokesperson.
Because you see, wait.
You want us to get into that conversation?
You see, I deliberately kept away from regime comparisons.
No, but that's what
when I was discussing that.
Yes.
Do you know why? In 2009, I sat in the office of Honorable Colin Zauda, who had then been made Minister for Natural Resources. When they signed, he had signed the final, they had, within that period, granted the mining lease to Newmont to mine into the Ajinwa Bipo Forest Reserve, which contained a royal cemetery for royal bodies to be excavated. So when we want to talk about this licensing to. I'm not digressing.
You're digressing. That's what you are doing.
I'm saying you just sat here.
2000, and we are talking about 2000 and this thing.
You talked about the past 8 years.
Ask if I could give you evidence of
Okay, so let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. He's looking. So, Dr. Bonfe, hold on for me. Let me do this for you. Mustapha, can you just name one person to satisfy one appointee of NPP
who was
involved in illegal mining?
Kabila wants us to get to that.
Mention one.
I'll decline his invitation, but I'm saying that.
But you did say right here that
I've said it.
under his administration there were people involved in.
When I begin that conversation, it's a long topic to discuss.
It is not.
To name one person?
It is. You want to rubbish the topic, but I'm saying that if you want us to do regime comparison, anyway. Let's come back. You did it. Let's come back here to name and shame. And let's come back here to name. But I'm saying that President Akufo-Addo's regime had its appointees keenly involved.
But if you can't mention even one of the appointees, then it would be unfair to make the statement.
No, once we are not discussing that topic.
But you know that there are people in your administration too who they are pointing fingers at.
President Mahama is looking for those people. Mention their names.
There was there's the Arwen MC also, who was a very topical one.
No,
what has happened to him as we speak?
That one was an issue where we all saw it. His constituents, had to block the military. For me, that is offensive conduct, but we don't have evidence that he was doing illegal mining.
All right. So let's move on. Our time is fast spent. There's a story. We have to go to Cape Coast now because over the weekend we saw that the Cape Coast Metropolitan Assembly were conducting some massive demolition exercise. We do have George Justice Arthur. He's the Metropolitan Chief Executive with us. But I just want to give you a bit of details because this is coming after the death of 2 elderly residents after a building collapsed in London Bridge, an area in Kotokraba, Cape Coast, during Saturday's heavy rains. And 3 other people have been injured and are responding to treatment so far. So that's what led to the massive demolition exercise. But Mr. Justice Arthur, since you're here with us, can you explain to us exactly the intention behind this demolition exercise that we are seeing right now?
Yeah, good morning to your wonderful listeners and your viewers.
Mr. Justice Arthur, we can hear you loud and clear. I think we have a connection problem. So he has a connection. Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're loud and clear.
Okay. Now, over the weekend, I would admit that Black Saturday for we, the people of Cape Coast. It wasn't a good news that as a Metropolitan Chief Executive, I had to move to all these places to check whether or not the place are flooded or the citizenry are okay. So when I went there, there's this very burden, the burden that we are talking about. I visited that area where the burden is situated. Hello, can you hear me?
You're loud and clear. We are following your submission.
Okay, where the burden is situated in Cape Coast at London Bridge. So I went there and the place is highly flooded. And the people over there, the occupants, were actually trying to, take the water out. So
Okay, I think we have to get you on phone because the Zoom is not very clear this morning. And we will come back to that story because they are saying they are working together with NADMO and other agencies to ensure Cape Coast is safe for living. But Noella, let's do one more story from your paper and then we can move on.
Okay, so there's another story here by the Pope, I believe, Pope Leo, who's urging politicians to respond to challenges posed by AI. I don't know if it's something we'd want to comment on. Obviously, we're in a digital era, and I think we've had conversations on, the advantages, disadvantages of AI, what it poses, the threat it poses, on even intellectual property. I mean, a lot of creatives have spoken out against some of these things, but he's warning politicians, in fact he did on Saturday, of the challenges posed by the rise of artificial intelligence, addressing its potential impact on younger people as a prime concern. And he spoke on an event attended by Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and parliamentary delegations from 68 countries.
Okay.
But I believe we have to go back to Zoom or on the phone.
On the phone now.
To George Justice Arthur, who's the Metropolitan Chief Executive at Cape Coast Metropolitan Assembly. And we're going to be speaking to him on the tragedy that happened over the weekend that involved the death of 2 elderly people following the collapse of a building. Sir, if you can hear me, you were speaking about what happened that led to the demolition of other buildings as well.
So, as I was saying, I went there and I assured them that I would let NADMO and other agencies come into their rescue. So no sooner had I left, I think about 10 minutes, then I was called again because Cape Coast is very big. I ought to go to the other areas to check whether or not those people too are okay. So they called me that that particular building is collapsed. So I have to rush to that place and realize that about 5 people were under it. So as a chief executive, I have to call other agencies like NADMO, fire, police, and also make some tools and other, how do you call it, excavators and other things available so that they will be able to save them or evacuate or retrieve them from the place. Honestly, about 5 of them, 3 of them were able to be retrieved. And 2 of them, after we went through hassle to ensure they were also retrieved, they were elderly persons. They were actually passed on. So it was a sad event. It was a sad news for us. So they were sent to mortuary. 3 of them were also sent to hospital. As at now I'm speaking with you, they are receiving treatment at the hospital as I'm speaking with you.
So following that, 3 buildings have been demolished. That's at yesterday. I think Saturday rather, not Sunday. Who owns these buildings?
Yeah, if you come to Cape Coast, you realize that most of the buildings are ancient buildings. They were built from 1902, 18. So because Cape Coast is an ancient town with a lot of history. So they are, most of them are dilapidated. They are in dilapidated state.
Does it mean you don't know the owners of these buildings? You're saying that there are a lot of them in Cape Coast, so you don't know the owners.
We know them. We spoke with the owners that looking at the situation and trying to actually prevent this from happening again. We just have to talk to them to ensure that their burden is demolished. So they agreed to it. We built consensus. They agreed to it that we should do that. And that is how come we are trying to demolish most of the burden. And we are still talking to some others. As soon as they agree, we need to actually demolish all of them so that we have sanity in the metropolis.
But Mr. George, these buildings that have been demolished, before they did it have occupants? Mr. George?
I don't think we have Justice Arthur George with us, but when he joins us, we can pose that question to him again, whether or not, and also if we've seen the end of it, or are they going to demolish all the buildings there? Quick thoughts on these. We haven't spoken to Vicky Bright in a bit, so let's go there on Zoom and then we'll come back in studio. Vicky, I'm sure you have some thoughts to share following the conversation to this point. Drop a pin for us.
Yes, indeed. I mean, you know, first of all, I want to commend him for demolishing been proactive in demolishing these buildings. I also want to extend my condolences to the families of those, the two elderly ladies who passed on. You know, it goes back to us as a people needing to do things correctly, because some of these buildings, from what we understand, have just not followed building regulations and, you know, construction rules and laws in this country. They've just been built anyhow, and some of the foundations and the structures can't actually support the number of floors or whatever it is they're doing on those, you know, in constructing those buildings. So I think that if they carry on, I commend the MCE for what he's done and what he's doing, together with NADMO and I believe the fire service as well, for being proactive in demolishing these buildings before they harm other people, or even worse, they kill other people. And maybe, just maybe, that would be a lesson to others who are in the process of building without permits, or who just don't care about the fact that we have these laws in this country, because normally there are no consequences. You know, people do these things and they get away with it, so they keep doing it. But if they realize that if government finds out that you have built without the necessary permits, or your building is not structurally resilient, the building is going to be destroyed, proactively destroyed by government, then they'll think twice. Then I don't think anyone would tell them to go and hire the right people, get the right structural engineer, the right construction person to actually put these buildings up. So for me, I say, yes, you know, he has our full support, has my full support. And I think many, many more assemblies, many, many more MCs should follow his example. If buildings are structurally effective to the point that they can't be fixed, because sometimes when a building is not strong, I'm not a structural engineer, but I know that at least in the West, there's something called underpinning, so you can underpin the building.
Vicky, I need you to briefly hold your thoughts as we go back to Mr. George Justice, the MCE of Cape Coast, and get more details on the demolition exercise ongoing. Mr. George, welcome back. Before your line went off, I was asking whether the demolished buildings had occupants before they were demolished.
The one that was actually collapsed had occupants. So that one, nothing could be done about it, because half of it was collapsed and we need to demolish everything completely. But the other two, the one at Brofedo that we started demolition yesterday, had no occupant. That had been in deteriorating state for the past 10 years. So Assembly had engaged the family of this burden. So there were no occupants. Then the other one, there were occupants, and nothing could be done about it. We actually need to demolish it. But we engaged the family that we are giving them 24 hours to remove their items. Rather than that, they could also be in a bad position, and we could hear the same news. So nothing could be done other than to demolish these burdens. But we are still talking to the other family to build consensus so that we will be able to demolish.
So for Mr. George,
so to pose problems to the metropolis.
Okay. Now, for the occupants, both occupants and owners of these buildings, what's going to happen to them? Are there plans to compensate them of a sort going forward?
Yeah, actually, even the owners are even happy. Assembly has taken the bold step to demolish their dilapidated buildings because they wanted to do so. But because of lack of resources, you know, if you are trying to demolish a building, it costs you a lot. And we are using a drip machine, just that we are actually buying a lot of fuel in that situation and in that circumstances. So they are happy that we are even demolishing their dilapidated buildings for them. But some other occupants, our assembly is trying to make provisions for them so that we will get them a temporary place and in order for them to look for other accommodation to go. So they are happy about the situation.
Okay. All right. Sweetie, do you have...
No, you're so... well, thank you so much. When next should we expect more? You mentioned that you're going to be engaging some of these residents and we will see some more demolition. You also said that there are a lot of these buildings in Cape Coast. So when next?
Oh, yeah, we are on it. Even today, we are still demolishing some. And in the coming days, we are NADMO, other security agencies, assembly building engineer, and all of them are engaging these people who have these sort of buildings. That when we reach consensus, we will be able to also demolish all of them. So we are still talking to them. And it's a continuous something that we are doing as assembly.
Thank you, Judge Justice Arthur. Noel, I believe Vicky didn't complete her thoughts for us.
So let's go back to Vicky. Vicky, you can now complete what you were saying.
Oh, yeah, I was actually talking about underpinning when I had to go up. I had to pause. So yes, I think that there should be a general audit throughout the country because it's not just in Cape Coast. This thing is everywhere, even in the capital, Accra, and in all these big cities. So I think the assemblies should do a general audit, and I think there should be a line, a kind of an open line of some sort. I wouldn't call it whistleblowing, but there should be a line where people can call if they see a dangerous or defective building, because assemblies don't have eyes everywhere and ears everywhere. They can only do so much because their resources are not infinite. So the people, we as Ghanaians should get involved in it. There should be an open line where you can call and say, and now, with the new GPS system, all buildings can be located in this country. So it doesn't have to be, that big name tree, you turn left, turn right, kind of direction. It can be actually quite precise and accurate.
Yeah.
So I think we should have that, and the assembly should do that. And there should be an audit of all these buildings. And those which can be underpinned should be underpinned. Those which are structurally defective beyond underpinning should just be destroyed. Because at the end of the day, what is it better to preserve, human life or property?
Right.
Definitely, human life has to come on top always. So, and also the same thing applies to these buildings and waterways and which are causing floods, because ultimately they're also killing people. Because if the water has nowhere to go, and we all know the perennial problems with floods in Ghana. People always die every year. Every single year without fail, people die. The only mitigation is how many people die, and it's not good enough. So we need to, it's something, these defective buildings is something that we need to address. And we need to address it in such a way that there's a deterrent for people to continue to build in that way. And just to engage in these kinds of practices.
Thank you, Vicky. Let's come back in studio for quick thoughts. There's a story I want to squeeze in because I see we're running out of time about the Bank of Ghana, but quick reflections on the demolition exercise, and then we get there. Mustapha, let's start with you.
But I think that what I had, I haven't gotten enough briefing on this.
Okay.
But certainly, the demolition is predicated on what has happened, and not necessarily the fact that the people have built without permits and regulations. But I think we need to commend the DC for taking the MC for that pragmatic steps to ensure that lives are not lost as a result of this, and also encourage more owners to buy into the vision and actually allow future deaths to be prevented by allowing their buildings, which is weak, to be taken out for new ones to be constructed. And so that's the little I can say about it.
Well,
yes, I just, sorry, before Kobna comes in, I just wanted to say, I wasn't saying that they are all not getting permits to build. I said that there were various causes. Some were getting permits but not building in the way in which they are supposed to do, and others were just flagrantly disregarding the law. I just wanted to correct that.
Okay.
So it brings to mind that body, is it land use and spatial body? I've forgotten their initials, but town and country building outfit, and how they are realigned to take a look at some of our very old cities. If you take Cape Coast, Takoradi, and Accra, you go to some areas around Jamestown and even Okanshi, Accra proper, some of the buildings are quite old. It will be important that our engineers are able to take up architectural integrity assessments to see whether they are still performing or living up to, the purpose. Don't forget that we have sometimes also allowed for extensions to buildings that are not part of their original architectural designs. And when you walk through town, you see some of them. So maybe this is an issue that should draw our minds to go back into that and how they are performing.
Okay.
As Mustapha said, I think that the MCE I want to believe he wasn't working in isolation. There's a department in the assembly that may have gone into this. And never forget that this comes under the national security considerations. So we would want to believe that whatever preparatory work that were necessary to accommodate the people temporarily were done, and that there is a way to get back those structures properly put together in conjunction with the families, so that, well, you pull down the buildings.
Government will end up taking responsibility for everything anybody
No, Mustapha, get my point right.
Yeah.
When I am talking about architectural integrity assessment,
yes,
I am talking within the framework of stakeholder engagement. This is an issue. The assembly has found that your building has certain defects, or it is long enough, it ought to be renovated in a certain manner. Get their input. You'll be shocked that some of them may even have been considering that they want to undertake.
That's what
he has said.
Exactly. So what I'm talking about is not for government to come and assume responsibility to build for people. It's about engaging and see how best things can be done. And you see, the people, if they were occupied, I didn't hear that part. If some
he said somewhere. Yeah,
somewhere. Yeah. If the people were occupied, the buildings were occupied, the people will have to be temporarily housed.
Yeah. Well, he mentioned that there are plans in place.
Absolutely. So in between, you see, when you are government, you have an overarching responsibility. That's why you are government. So you can't run away from something.
But Mustapha, what's the concern?
No, I'll leave it.
That government can't absorb.
You don't have to argue on everything.
You see,
it may be operationally difficult, but
the paper you have, I want to move the conversation forward. You have the Daily Guide. There's a big story there, which was very topical. And that sack or termination or non-confirmation of these contracts take effect today. So let's get into that story, please.
Well, I think I've seen it and I've read it.
So that's a Daily Guide, but for the benefit of our audience who may not know, just what the headline is.
UOG sacks 100 staffs. That is it. I've said that. I think this is a very...
In fact, let me help you with the details so we can situate it right. So it says more than 100 staff members of the Bank of Ghana have had their appointments terminated in a sweeping administrative move, which the government claims as part of an ongoing effort to streamline public sector engagement made after the 2024 general elections. And I continue to say that the affected workers who were recruited in 2024 received official dismissal letters on Thursday, June 19, 2025. So is it a question of probation period over, non-confirmation, and so you proceed to exit the company? Or is it part of a broader agenda to sack or lay off all those who were, engaged in the erstwhile administration's final days?
No,
Which is it?
This is what I heard from the governor of the Bank of Ghana clearly is different from what we all advocated for, including myself. If you were, a public sector worker and you expose yourself so much to politics such that you get involved to the disadvantage of the services you have to be rendering, and persons who, were appointed, ran up to elections, and during the transition period to be sacked. That is entirely different from this one. What I heard the Bank of Ghana said was that these people were on probatory, contracts or engagements, and per their own assessment, the Bank of Ghana's assessment, they did not meet the requisite standard that one could be permanently engaged, and so they had to terminate. And we all know that is the effect of being on probation. If you have served the probatory period and you have given unsatisfactory, output, I'm sure that the employer would then decide your fate, which is what has happened. It is not the case that the Bank of Ghana is just laying people out, because clearly the Bank of Ghana in the last 8 years didn't just employ 100 staffs. They've employed quite a huge number. And so for 100 to be laid off on that grounds, for me, gives a clear distinction between what laying someone who was employed during and after election, and also somebody who have not, been able to meet a particular standard of human resource requirements of the Bank of Ghana. And you all know that the Bank of Ghana is a serious place for all of us, where skill set and professionalism is placed very high. So if you don't meet the requirements...
But what do you make of, other people also saying that this sack could be politically motivated, since these, workers were employed during the previous government?
You cannot take that consideration that it could be politically motivated. I don't see us, or I don't see anybody trying to run away from that allegation. But as we stand, the facts on the table is that the Bank of Ghana have come out to clarify and indicated that these persons, or these 100 persons, individuals, didn't meet the standard or the criteria of human resource requirement after probation periods, and so you have to go. The question then is, did they only employ 100 people at the Bank of Ghana? The answer is no. A lot of people were employed. What about the rest? Were they not employed by the previous regime? Why are they not sacking all of them, but yet sacking only 100?
Over 100, not 100 precisely.
These persons, we are told, were all serving probatory periods or probatory services or engagements. And after their probation, if they are assessed and they didn't meet the standard, it's just fair that we can agree that banking is banking, and Bank of Ghana is Bank of Ghana. They have the right to appoint. They also have the right to lay off based on unsatisfactory, service or output. And so I'll leave it as that. Those who hold to read the political lines, you cannot avoid reading political lines, because a political party gave birth to government. Certainly NPP was a political party. They are out of government. And so one will be tempted to feel that it's because these persons were employed during the era of the NPP. But I don't think that is the case, because the governor spoke to a particular practice that we all know. It happens here in Joy FM. It happens everywhere. If you are on probation and you don't meet the requirement, the satisfactory service requirement, it was the duty of the employer to decide how to invest their money in human resource.
Okay. Mr. Bonfa, you've been smiling while he made his...
Oh, not necessarily too. Somebody said I was looking too serious. I've seen a friend of mine. So
okay. You're watering it down now.
As far as I'm concerned, there are rules and regulations guiding every recruitment process. I think there's a point Mustapha made. Almost every recruitment comes with probations. Every you need to justify your inclusion even when you have been given an employment letter to the agency or institution or organization. So the terms are there. I don't have the details and the grounds on which whatever termination has been done. Those affected can go back and study the regulations they applied on. If their termination, the termination of their appointments violate any process or procedure, or the governor and his people are acting contrary to Article 296 of our Constitution 1992, they should exercise their rights at law. Go to the courts. I mean, I am an activist of constitutional law, and I believe that sometimes we need to test the law.
A consultant on the Constitution.
To see how our persons who are occupying offices are acting, and right or wrong. That is how we deepen our democracy. That said, I want to believe that the governor and his team are also very much aware of the task ahead of them. He himself, I was reading somewhere, had been at the Bank of Ghana previously. And then something happened that his appointment was truncated or something.
About 8 years ago, right?
To that effect. And he has come back. My advice to him is that people who suffer injustice, even though they don't always end up being advocates of justice, must necessarily become advocates of justice, so that we can see that what they experience, or if there was indeed injustice in his case, he would not have to extend it to others. Okay. You have situations where people who have suffered injustice then become, you know...
Yeah, they say hurt people, you know? Yeah.
I don't want to believe our governor
would do that. Well, we have a lawyer among us, so let's hear from her now. Vicky Bright, what do you say on this mass dismissal or termination of probation contracts from over 100 people at Bank of Ghana? What do you say to this?
Well, you know, my basic starting point is that every employer has the right to hire and fire, as long as they are respecting the terms of the contract and the law, you know, employment laws in Ghana. According to the Bank of Ghana, they have retained more than half of the appointees of the previous government. So I would like to believe that this was really genuinely done in accordance with their own evaluation processes and practices. They have said that they conducted extensive reviews and evaluations of each of those employees, and for whatever reason, they didn't find them, you know, able to meet those criteria. And I'm sure that this is documented somewhere. So if anyone doubts it, they probably have the right, they should have the right to see what the reasons behind their particular termination is. So I don't want to politicize it, because we are in the habit of politicizing everything in this country. And I think it's not helping us very much. So I would like to believe in the integrity of the Bank of Ghana and the governor, and say that, look, they have retained more than half of the people. So clearly some of the people were found to be satisfactory and others were not, for whatever reason. So we just need to, like any other employer, we just need to respect their decisions, as long as they haven't violated the terms of the individual contracts concerned, and also the employment laws, the labor laws of Ghana. I'm okay with that.
Thank you so much. I think we have time for one last story.
Yeah.
Noella?
We can take a look at the story that happened over the weekend concerning the OSP and Professor Jampo following an interview he granted on a TV station. I think key point.
Okay.
So it says a public spat has erupted between the Office of the Special Prosecutor and the Acting Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Shippers Authority, Dr. Ransford Jampo, and the confrontation followed comments made by the doctor, Dr. Jampo, I beg your pardon, during a TV appearance regarding the ongoing corruption probe
involving former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. In a strongly worded statement issued on Saturday, the OSP, I beg your pardon, refuted suggestions made by Dr. Jampo on TV3's Key Point program that its investigation into Mr. Ofori-Atta was driven by a personal vendetta. And to be fair, I watched that interview. To be fair, to a large extent, Professor Jampo spoke, for the OSP, talked about how he supports, what he's doing, going after people involved in suspected corruption issues. And I want to quote him verbatim, what he says. It says, "I'm happy that the OSP's intentions are also genuine, and I'm hoping, I beg your pardon, that the OSP's intentions are also genuine and not driven by personal interest, vendetta, and also the need for a certain regime's job security."
Okay.
Which is very interesting that he said that. And his reason for saying that is simple, that he has seen the OSPs also radically go after cases similar to that of Ken Ofori-Atta, citing Cecilia Dapa. And so he's hoping, and obviously in his words, these cases amounted to nothing.
Yeah.
And so he's wondering what really might be the motivation, and saying he's hoping it's not born out of, personal interest.
Okay.
Mustapha, do you have anything to say to that?
That basically, look, we are in a country where we ourselves have taken for granted what our democratic credentials are, i.e. the quest for self-enrichment, dealing with corruption-related matters, and how we compromise the credibility of our state institutions. If for nothing at all, I want to say that because of the privilege I have gotten to serve both in a political party and even in a government structure, we should ensure that there is so much deterrence. It is not every politician that is corrupt. It is not also every public servant that is clean. We should have a system where institutions are able to work effectively to have enough deterrence for corrupt practices. Our country is sinking day in, day out because we have allowed what is corruption-related to flourish. I have had issues with regards to the commitment of the OSP and its office in terms of what they've been able to do. We are all also aware of the past records that even when the OSP decided to align with the judiciary to fight and prosecute some of these matters, publicly he came out to speak about how he was being frustrated within the judiciary with judges involved. So we cannot at the same time approbate and reprobate. And the fact that there is job security is not enough to dine with corruption or a certain scandal that is stinking and shortchanges the Ghanaian people. Whoever benefits from a scandal is himself part of the scandal. And so let us allow the OSP to do its work. Look, I have said, if for nothing, and it's not revenge, the way Ken Ofori-Atta treated people in this country, if not for nothing, he should make himself available, and perhaps he's done nothing wrong. Perhaps whatever all of us are saying may not really, in the face of the laws, amount to some crime. He should make himself available. If tomorrow there's a reason for myself or Kabila to appear and be tested with the law, we would appear because we have done one thing or the other. And Ken Ofori-Atta should not be given a different treatment. We are all sick sitting here, maybe, but we are still in our country. We are still battling whatever we have.
I'm not sick.
Well, I mean, so, yeah, of course. We are still ready and prepared any day, any time to make ourselves available. Let Ken Ofori-Atta make himself available. Let the laws work. We should stop.
I want to pick your thoughts quickly on something you said, that you've had the chance to serve in a political party and in a government structure.
Yeah.
So having the experience of both sides,
would you say that the people are right, the people who criticize the way the OSP is going about his dealings in recovering all loot and the rest, that there might be some political coloration in there? I mean, if you look at the way, well, I can't call them raid because eventually they'll come out and say that they had warrants, so they were executing such warrants. But it's always almost carried out in a way that you think there's some vendetta that they want to execute. Do you see the wisdom in the people or those who criticize the OSP, why they would say that?
I do see because, look, I campaigned throughout the constituencies in Ghana in the run-up of election. One of the main issues and the reasons Ghanaians voted for the NDC was our preparedness to fight corruption. Every Ghanaian believed that there's something wrong managing our government system and it needs to be cleaned up. The expectation is that the OSP must be up and doing. He must vindicate the reasons why people advocated for that office to be created. And I think so far, he has not been able to prove that to the ordinary Ghanaian. He hasn't convinced Ghanaians that he's a partner in meeting their expectations when they actually see and experience corruption. And the OSP have come into those matters, and it ends up that for a period of time, nothing comes out. I think Ghanaians have a cause of concern. And I'm saying that this country, we all have to make sure that if you have had to do something, you put the Ghanaian people first. If we allow corruption to continue, I can tell you, this will probably be the last government regime that will be tolerated by the people of Ghana if corruption intermeddles in this government. And we allow it to fester and to still exist. We should do everything possible to fight it head on without political consideration so that whether you are MPP, you are NDC, and you have had the opportunity to serve in a government structure, your focus should be serving the people other than serving yourself. If we don't do that, we are in trouble. Our democracy will be in trouble. No Ghanaian will tolerate anything called a political party or a government in the future very close to us.
So unfair.
You know, sometimes you wonder what to say. How does conducting an investigation rely on the investigated to establish guilt or a basis to go after the person alleged of that offense? How does? You see, sometimes we have to be very careful in this country. The fact that I say I'm conducting an investigation on an alleged corruption doesn't mean that the person is already guilty of corruption. It's sometimes our narratives that deepen these perceptions of corruption. And it is done by public office holders, people in the public space. I have a problem with that. How does investigating Kenofurata by the OSP, problematic as that office itself is, and I've talked about the unconstitutionality of creating that office. It's an amendment of Article 88, which can only be done. Please, I'm saying, listen to me. The amendment of Article, I've not gone to court on that, but you don't have to always go to court with your beliefs. You can express them. Maybe someday I will go on that. But the point I'm making is that amending Article 88 is very clear. It is an entrenched provision. You can't do it with an act of parliament. It must come to the people through a referendum. But that is not the point of discussion this morning. The OSP, I have still not been able to understand how the conduct of his investigations into whatever charge or allegation is will depend on he meeting Kenufuriata to be able to carry out that investigation.
There are questions Ken needs to answer.
You see,
in order for them to conclusively or comprehensively...
But that's the point. You are working on your suspicion against me. You want me to aid you
Why is it what we call rules of natural justice also?
Hold on,
call the person to answer for the crimes that they
So when you call me and I have not appeared before you, you make it look like my non-appearance to you is escaping justice. Go to court.
But there were several instances where he was given the opportunity to show up. At some point, he himself gave them a date and couldn't show up. Then it gives you the impression that he's running away from answering questions that the whole state is waiting for us to get answers.
So that is where the problem is. What answers is the whole state waiting to get answers? I mean, what questions?
They have listed it. There's the SML deal, there's the National Cathedral. We just need answers because he was the leader of the entity. It brings me to something here. Go on, I'll find it for you. The inconvenience.
So my point is very simple. That at the end of the day, if there's anything untoward that has been found, you need to go ahead and prosecute it. Kenofurata cannot decline an invitation to court. If he does that, the court can find him guilty.
In fact, on that, lawyer Martin Pibble mentioned that, in fact, to quote him verbatim, he says it would have been wiser of the OSP to have taken Kent's offer to actually, interrogate him virtually.
Absolutely.
And the reason he gives is that it would have given the OSP an opportunity to get his caution and charge statement so he can be trialed in absentia.
Yeah.
But for me, that's not even the point. That at the end of the day, when you go to court, then the man has a right to appear. Failure to appear, he will be found guilty of contempt of the court. But to try a case in an investigative manner, as if
you're not trying the case. You talked about narratives, so I want us to...
Exactly the point I'm making.
The case.
I disagree with him strongly.
You don't have to agree with me, Mustapha. I sat here, I listened to you. You were talking as if Ken Ofurata's non-appearance before the OSP meant that he was already guilty of corruption.
No.
We must rate our public space with...
He's deliberately avoiding being interrogated. That is what it means.
And I'm saying
that is what it means. Is he bigger
the right to be...
This kind of right bigger than the law. Does it mean that the right to be investigated is unlawful?
Mustapha.
Does it mean that...
How about we listen to the lawyer and then give you time to pull off? So, Vicky Bright, you have the final say on this matter. Whether or not the OSP's outfit...
what about that?
Dr. Bonfe says he still can't find the wisdom in establishing that entity. Mr. Mustapha Gbande is saying that he's still not impressed in terms of bringing finality to most of the cases that appear on their docket. What do you say, especially on the topic of, Noel, I believe it was about the political coloration of the way the OSP is going about some of his duties?
I don't see any political coloration in the way he's going about his business. If you look at his mandate, he's just fulfilling the mandate, and he should be allowed to do so. He should be allowed to do so because I agree with Mustapha in the sense that, look, corruption is killing our country. It really is. And I'm not saying that Ken is corrupt or otherwise because I don't know the full facts. But what I am saying is that if you're a public official, you're sworn in an oath, you're in office, you have controlled our public finances over an 8-year period, and you are required to come and answer questions, then you should make it easy to answer those questions, to the questions. That is what I think. Because once you accept, you have to accept that once you occupy any position of any public office, let me put it that way, you have actually agreed for greater scrutiny than would be on you or I, and so there will, by necessity, be some kind of level of erosion and to your rights or whatever. It doesn't mean that your human rights or your legal rights should be flouted, but there will be a greater degree of scrutiny than for ordinary people. So that's the starting point. He's following his mandate. There are questions to be answered. He's put those questions there. Look, Interpol is not in the business of just naming people willy-nilly just because someone's told them to do so. There are certain conditions you have to meet before they put you on that list because it's a very serious matter. It's not a joke. It's a very, very serious matter. So the fact that they have deemed it fit that that Ken should qualify to be on that list also speaks, volumes. So we shouldn't say the OSP is on some kind of vendetta. And this question about trying to protect his job, he's a lawyer, for God's sake. He can work anywhere, you know? He can always earn a living as a lawyer. So it should not be reduced. Let's not reduce the discourse to that level. And the serious issue is, in any event, it's not just the OSP. My understanding is that there are other agencies, security agencies, that would also like to have a chat with Ken.
All right.
Like you, others. So let's look at the facts of the matter. Let's look at the you know. And one more thing I'd like to say. This question about the OSP, and it's not just him, the previous one as well, you know, them not delivering. And we need to be cautious when we make that statement, because you need government support to do your work if you're in that situation. And consistently, they have both said that they were literally working with one or both hands tied behind their backs. So this is a government that I see is willing to support in the fight against corruption. So let us see how the OSP performs, being given a free hand to fight corruption. If he still can't deliver, then we can have that conversation. And in the Cecilia Dapa case, my understanding is that the case has been reopened. I don't know if someone can tell me whether that's the case or not. But
I can confirm that as we speak, yeah.
That it's been reopened. So let's just hold our horses and see what happens. We were all very surprised about the so-called outcome of that case, because looking at what we saw and the outcome, we were all sort of sitting there with our jaws ajar. So let's just hold our horses and see what happens. But as far as I'm concerned, he's not doing anything wrong so far.
Thank you so much. You just heard there Victoria Bright. She's a lawyer and entrepreneur. And in studio, we have Dr. Kwabena James Bonfe Jr., he's CEO of Census, and of course, Mustapha Gbande is Deputy Director of Operations at the Office of the Presidency. Noella, looks like we had a great conversation.
We did.
Very insightful. You should be increasing the time.
Yeah.
To be able to discuss these matters into details. Because what my brother just sat here and did in the last few minutes is contrary to what he believes.
I wish we could listen to you even more, but that's our time. That's our time. Some dedications before we pop off. Happy birthday to Sena Yeboah. You continue to lead on conversations on health in Ghana and across the globe. This is worth noting. May this lovely day bring you happiness and new opportunities in life. Wishing you the happiest birthday ever from your lovely husband, Mr. Kofi Yeboah, and the TNU family and Allied family. We love you. Happy birthday. I just want to bring something to your attention. The inconvenient truth is on page 29 of the Daily Graphic, and it talks about when the purse strings are pulled from afar. It talks about the power of the finance minister, what he's answerable for, what he's not answerable for. I thought it was very interesting. So pick a copy and read for yourself. The AM show is sponsored by Waylead Properties. We provide quality housing at affordable cost with flexible payment options. Stick and stay. We'll be back with our big stories.
You're welcome back. It's the AM show live on Journeys. I'm Noella Karen Iyali. I've got an interview coming right up, but before then, remember AM show is sponsored by Waylead Properties. We provide quality housing at an affordable cost and with flexible payment options. And this weekend, the third edition of the Journeys Impact Makers Awards comes off. It promises to be an exciting event. It's going to be hosted by our very own Sweetie Abochi and Nathaniel Atto this Saturday. And for those of you who probably have not heard about the Journeys Impact Makers Awards ever, well, it's our own way of celebrating individuals that are making significant, extraordinary impact in their little or big ways in their community. We've made it our responsibility to really spotlight these individuals and encourage them to do more. And by so doing, we hope that other people would also look at that, feel motivated enough to follow suit. And so, like I said, it's happening, the third edition is happening this Saturday. And it's instructive to note that winners or awardees are going to be picked or selected from various, regions. I'm talking Ashanti, Upper East, Western region, Central, Ashanti, Upper West as well. And they cut across various sectors, farming, education, health, you name it, okay? And we have in studio right now Satar Donzuo. She's Assistant Head, Residential Business Unit of Gold Key Properties. They are proud sponsors of the Joy News Impact Makers Awards, and she's here to tell us more about Gold Key Properties, their motivation for actually sponsoring the Joy News Impact Makers Awards. But before we get to that, tell us a little bit about Gold Key Properties.
Okay, so Gold Key Properties Limited is a fully owned Ghanaian real estate company that has been transforming the landscape of Accra for about 30 years now. So we've had our footprints in both residential and commercial properties. Our properties are located mainly at Cantonment, Airport, East Legon, Laboni, and then we've also had our commercial big enclave in Cantonment called the Cantonment City, where you have buildings like the PwC Tower, EY, Huawei, yes. And then we have an upcoming project in Chado, which is our first development under our Gold Key Comfort brand, the Blossoms, which is selling off plan and is a good time for individuals to take advantage to buy.
Awesome stuff. Looks like I may, you know, never know. When we're done with the interview, I'd get your contact and see what I can get property. Hopefully I'm able to pay. Anyway, but you are on board this year's Impact Makers Awards. Why?
So Gold Key believes in giving back to the society, and with the nature of our business, we cannot always get down to the communities to support as much as we would want to. So Impact Makers happens to be a good platform that we believe we can partner with, you know, to appreciate Ghanaians who are doing their very best at the community levels that we can't reach. So our CSR umbrellas have been under education, health, and environment and sanitation. And we feel these are the areas that Impact Makers covers. So it's just the right platform for us to partner with. Yeah.
Awesome stuff. And since we're really spotlighting and celebrating individuals that are making significant impact in their community, I guess it would be right of me to ask what significant impact is Gold Key having on the members of the communities they operate in?
Okay, so as I rightly mentioned, our CSR umbrellas are under education, health, and sanitation and environment. So we actually do sponsor some students in the orphanages, and we also do, we recently renovated St. Maurice School at La. And then we also do regular donations to the psychiatric units, the less privileged. Yes, so I mean, it's an ongoing process for us. Yes.
So I mean, the awards event is this weekend, this Saturday. What should perhaps the awardees expect? What should Ghanaians expect from Gold Key Properties?
So Gold Key Properties will definitely be present at the events, just to also have a physical interaction with the awardees, to let them know that they're actually seen and appreciated by Gold Key. And also, I mean, we are out here selling our properties, of course, so it's an opportunity for people who will be present there to also talk to us with the new project that I mentioned in Chado. We are still selling at early bird prices, so it's a good time for people to, you know, grab a unit now and have the option.
You want to tell us what these price ranges are?
So we have our studios starting from $65,000. Yes, and then we have one bedroom starting from $110,000.
Okay.
Yes, and then you have the whole period of construction to make payments, which takes you up to about 30 months. Yes.
So I mean, I have expressed interest, but it's just me. I'm sure there are a number of other people out there who would also want to, you know, patronize some of your properties. How do we reach out to you? What are your contact details?
So we can be reached on phone on 0555 887777, or we could also be reached on 0555 887799. You can also reach out to us on our website, www.goldkeygh.com. We are on social media, on Twitter and on Instagram as Gold Key Properties.
Satar, you've been phenomenal this morning. Thank you so much for joining us here on the AM show. So I've been speaking to Satar Donzuo. She is the Assistant Head, Residential Business Unit at Gold Key Properties. They are proud sponsors of the Joy News Impact Makers Awards that's happening this weekend. Remember, it's going to be hosted by our very own Sweetie Abochi and Nathaniel Atto. I mean, those duo, you can expect fireworks, and so do not miss that. Also, are you looking to do things differently to level up your skills and get ahead in this challenging job market? Statistics show it's tough out there for university graduates with only a few landing jobs immediately after school. Doing things differently is what the Design and Technology Institute, that's DTI, is all about. DTI offers programs ranging from precision welding and fabrication design innovation, graphic design, sound engineering, animation, photography, etc. And of course, they also have a course on entrepreneurship, my absolute favorite course in school myself. So our programs are internationally recognized by the American Welding Society, Pearson, BTEC, and CTVET, so you can shine here in Ghana or anywhere in the world. So if you're ready to do things differently and chart your path, check out DTI. Visit their website, that's dtiafrica.com/admissions, or call 054-169-3534. That's 054-169-3534 for more information. Remember, DTI has all the rights reserved, including the right to produce or use this material or any parts thereof in any manner. You're still watching the AM show right here on Joy News with myself and Sweetie Abochi. We've got a lot coming up your way. We've got a debate, the GJA elections. It's actually on the 30th of June. We've got two aspiring or vying for the position of national organizing secretaries or secretaries. And so we'll be having a debate between them. You should stick with us for that. Also, we have an interaction with one of our journalists, sports journalists, that have put together a beautiful documentary on hooliganism in football. All of these coming up shortly. Stay with us.
The AM show is sponsored by Waylead Properties. We provide quality housing at affordable costs with flexible payment options. So next in our big stories this morning, we're bringing you a debate. Who's debating who? And what is this all about? It's about the Ghana Journalists Association election. By the end of this month, on the 30th of June, the media fraternity will elect new executives. And today we want to focus on the position of National Organizing Secretary. And they are here live in the studio with us to tell us what they have up their sleeves and why you, as a journalist, should vote for them or not. Joining us in studio, Maxwell Kudetor. He's an aspiring national organizer. And Suleiman Mustapha, that's how he said his name, is the aspiring national organizer. So they're both vying for the same position. And Noella and I are here to steer the conversation. This is a very important debate for you. And Noella, if you could just begin with for us in terms of who is Maxwell and who is Suleimana.
So I'm going to brief all of us on their profile. So Maxwell, in no particular order, okay? Maxwell is a seasoned journalist and the Eastern Regional Correspondent for the Multimedia Group Limited, as well as a two-term Eastern Regional Secretary and Chairman of the Ghana Journalists Association with National Level Council representation. Now, he was a member of the 2017 GJA Code of Ethics, Consultative Assembly and Validation Committee, contributing to key revisions shaping journalism standards in Ghana. And he played pivotal roles in national planning committees for GJA's 70th and 75th anniversaries and championed advocacy for press freedom, responsible journalism and media rights. Maxwell also spearheaded the Eastern Regional Media Awards. He was able to secure prime land for GJA in Koforidua and led initiatives for mentorship, academic advancement, and professional growth of young journalists. And he holds an MA in Development Communications, a BA in Communication Studies, and a law degree. That's an LLB. So that's a brief, well, not so brief, very packed brief about Maxwell Kudetor.
Okay.
Hope I did not murder the name.
No.
You want to take a...
Yes, let's talk about Suleimana right now. And Suleimana is a veteran journalist and advocate. He's an editor of Graphic Business and dedicated member of the Ghana Journalists Association. And he's coming to this with a deep, well, that's still Maxwell Kudetor there, deep insight into the realities of journalism in Ghana. So Suleiman he's passionate about addressing poor working conditions and rising attacks on journalists with a clear agenda to promote safety and dignity in profession. He says he has a vision for stronger GJA, as he is committed to rebuilding a vibrant, inclusive and proactive GJA that upholds journalistic standards and defends the rights of its members nationwide. I must say, Maxwell Kudetor, that you and I did the same MA program at GIJ, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, great. Okay, so now that we know who you are, I want to start and we will time your response. What is the role of an organizing secretary? I'll start with you, Maxwell Kudetor. You have 2 minutes to expatiate on the role.
Basically, the role of the, let me take the opportunity to greet our members of the media fraternity, especially the GJA members in good standing. We wish that the 30th June election is going to be smooth. And then journalists in Ghana will reward people who are so much dedicated to our cause. Basically, the role of the National Organizing Secretary is to supervise the chapters and the branches of our association. The fulcrum of the success of our institution with respect to organization centers on the activeness of the National Organizing Secretary. He is in charge of the overall organization of association with support from the General Secretary. So ideally, when it comes to grassroots mobilization, that is where you find the National Organizing Secretary executing his or her role effectively. So basically, it's about mobilizing, organizing chapters and branches, and then also spearheading all other events that borders or that association is tasked to do.
Okay, thank you. You have a few seconds left, but thank you for keeping it short and straight to the point. Suleiman, your turn now. What is the role of the organizing secretary?
Well, let me also start by saying good morning and thank you for hosting us, and to also say good morning to our viewers, particularly the GJA members in good standing. And we hope and pray that on the day, 30th June, they will do the needful, and then they will elect me as the National Organizing Secretary with Maxwell here as my supporter. So, I mean, the role of the Organizing Secretary is basically grassroots mobilization to coordinate and supervise the activities of the chapters, national chapters. Be the, I don't know if multimedia here you have a chapter, be the multimedia chapter, graphic chapter, or Eastern Region chapter, or Western Region chapter. You coordinate all the activities and propose reforms, and then present their concerns to the national executives for consideration and implementation. So basically the role of the, I wouldn't say much, the role of the National Organizing Secretary is to coordinate the activities of the chapters, and also be readily available for any assignment that the General Secretary will assign you. So, apart from grassroots mobilization and organizing the chapters and coordinating the chapters, we also stand ready for any assignment that the General Secretary will assign you.
Okay, thank you. Noella.
Okay, so we'll get into some hotball questions now, if you both don't mind. Now, the GJA, they've been criticized for being reactive rather than proactive. They've also been criticized for being dormant and late with responses to violence meted out to journalists in their line of duty. We can reference our very own Latif Idrisu's recent assault by NPP sympathizers at the Yoko headquarters. It took the GJA 4 weeks to condemn the assault and also call on the police to make other arrests, because at the time they responded, the police had already arrested the suspect involved in the assault. So as a national coordinating secretary, how do you intend to, one, I'm asking you two questions in one, how do you intend to help shift the association from making reactive statements to more proactive, structured programming all year round, and two, taking timely, decisive actions in protecting its members?
It's quite a lengthy question, and so I think I'd be charitable and give you 5 minutes each.
Well, that's very fine. I have 3 major themes for my campaign. The first one is the operationalization of the GJA chapters and then the branches. The second one is a legal support system that addresses the question that you just asked. Then the final one has to do with issues of welfare. So now let's tackle the second theme that addresses your question. Yes, we have witnessed how the GJA respond to issues of attacks and all that. And I believe that even though there's a room for improvement, this administration has not done so bad with respect to fighting for the interests of journalists, in the sense that we have times in our history where we have called for a boycott for a whole institution. So we've done well. Now this is my solution for addressing issues of attack on journalists. I propose that the Ghana Journalists Association has a very cordial relationship with the Ghana Bar Association. So I'm going to propose to National Council to form or have a consultation with the Ghana Bar Association to gather human rights lawyers across the country. Now, the issues of assault have 2 dimensions. It is either the criminal prosecution or a civil prosecution. Many a times you realize that when journalists are attacked, it is either the police is not forthcoming with investigation, perhaps because there's a strong man somewhere who is connected to the assault, or the prosecution either do not present facts that will secure a conviction for the perpetrators. So let's forget about criminal prosecution. Let the GBA connect with us. Let us assemble human rights lawyers in every region. Let these human rights lawyers work in consultation with our chapters and our regions. So if we record any issue of attack on a journalist in, say, Koforidua, in, say, Takrady, in, say, Kumasi, we activate these human rights lawyers, at least a minimum of 3, working with us. We activate the committee. The committee follows up with the police for investigations and all that. When we realize that the police are not interested in pursuing the matter, then we can encourage our lawyers to take a civil action, so that even if the state declines to prosecute, we know that we have a standing legal team that will intercede for us. When we are able to follow up this procedure, when we are able to get these lawyers fighting for us, I'm sure that the courts will help us secure better verdict or better, as it were, punishment for people who turn journalists into punching bag. So for me, I think that is a more proactive way in dealing with the matter. The difficulty is that we have relied on the state for prosecution. What we can do, or what we've been doing in time past, is to just condemn. But we have to take more proactive measures, ensuring that people who attack us pay dearly for what they do. And I'm sure that if we are able to do that, we should be heading towards a point where, I mean, people will be very careful if they want to attack journalists. So that is the core thing that the core proposal I am bringing on board to help curb the issue of...
you have 30 seconds more on the timeliness of responses.
You see, it all boils down to the fact that most of our chapters and our regions have not been so much active, perhaps because of a gap between the National Association and the branches and the region. So sometimes issues happen in the various regions. It takes sometimes more than a day or 2 for the National Executive to get to know of the issue. So our strategy is to re-energizing our chapters. That is the first thing that I talk about, the operationalization of our chapters. We want to ensure that all our chapters are active. Chapters that do not have executives, we get them to get executive. Where we do not have chapters, we create or we form chapters. And then the chapter executive will deal directly with our members. The idea is that we want to develop a more grassroots-based association where the people in the newsrooms will feel a part of our association. So whatever issues of attack, any issue that bothers a journalist happen, the first people you get in touch with in your newsroom are your chapter executive. Then we can easily relay the information to National for Action. And then if you have a standing legal team in the region, it becomes so much easy dealing with some of these issues.
Well, I mean, the issue is simple. Let me just address the issue of GJA, executives being reactive rather than proactive. I say, the current executives are doing very well, and I disagree with the statement that they are rather being reactive instead of being proactive. Because you see, anytime there is an attack on a journalist, it is not prudent for you to immediately issue a statement condemning or praising. What you need to do is to investigate. And to investigate, you need time. You require time to investigate.
Need 4 weeks?
No, you don't need 4 weeks. Just immediately, you can find out, make calls, or call the media house that the journalist works with immediately on that day. It takes within some few hours to get this information, and then you can issue a statement. I see that, we can, most of the time, what the GJA has been doing is to issue a statement condemning the attack on a journalist. And for me, that is one step. But there is another layer I want to propose. The layer is, to get a standing committee. And this standing committee should be made up of a lawyer, a doctor, a clinical psychologist, and a police or a military man. So that this standing committee is always on the standby. Anytime there is an attack on a journalist, you trigger the committee to action. And this is some of the things we need to propose. The lawyer will take care of the prosecution and the criminal processes and the civil issues. And the doctor, medical doctor, we can liaise with the Ghana Medical Association. They are good partners. We can liaise with them to give us one doctor, and the doctor will take care of the victim, the journalist who has been attacked. Ensure that his safety and health is well taken off, while the psychologists take care of the psyche of the journalist. So for me, this standing committee can always be triggered anytime a journalist is attacked. One of the things we all need to know is that the GJA is a welfare association. And the welfare association, you ought to always be concerned about your members. So attack on a journalist should be condemned in everything. But of course, it goes beyond condemnation. You also have to follow up to take care, to ensure that the journalist is well taken care of, his health, his family, and I can cite the issue of Latif. For more than a year or more than 2 years, he's been battling with ill health. This is something that the GJA must not rest. He's a member in good standing. We can always make a follow-up. I think that GJA has been doing, but we can add additional layer of giving him some support based on some of the contributions we make to ensure that, we can even name one of the awards after him for the sacrifices he's made to the profession. For me, these are some of the things that I will say will inure to journalists once those are instituted. For me, it's very important, extremely important for me, and I always make this point. If you don't have a standing committee, that is where you always go fishing, looking for a lawyer, looking for a medical doctor, looking for a psychologist to take care. Beyond the prosecution, you must also take care of the journalists. These are the concerns and proposals that I want to table to National Council to input into the national formulation to take care of the journalists.
Okay, thank you. I like how this is going so far. So to my question now, journalism is rapidly evolving with the disruption of this digital age. They say it's the fourth industrial revolution. Everyone picks up a phone, they can record something and call themselves a journalist. Because of this, we are seeing newsroom budgets shrinking. As part of the leadership of the GJA, how would you ensure that the GJA remains relevant in this ever-evolving space that we've entered in terms of what journalism has been reduced to or has become right now? How would you ensure that GJA gets the budget it needs and stays relevant when we have bloggers who are not part of the association, but they call themselves journalists? What is your way or strategy to keep us at the top of the affairs of journalism? Maxwell Kudetor. And you have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. I think that we are in a very competitive environment. And as industry, we need to strategize and move with time. I have proposed on several platforms that we need to figure out a way, even though the Constitution, the 1992 Constitution is very strong on the fact that there shouldn't be any impediment in the operation and establishment of media organization. I am of the view that the same Constitution permits us to figure out ways in managing or regulating the activities or the freedom that has been given to us. So I have proposed on several platforms that civil society can come together and figure out a way to regularize the practice of journalism in this country. So no, you cannot just wake up one day and call yourself a journalist. So the IPR has a system, Bar Association, Medical Association, and all that. I think that the GJA can initiate a conversation around how we should be, or we can regulate this space, and then ensure that people who practice meet certain standard. With respect to the new media, I also think that we also need to be proactive. Now, if people who are not trained are taking over the space, it is for us as journalists and media managers to also figure out a way to be very relevant in that space. So if the social media is the age, our content should be geared towards social media. We should also be visible on social media. I think I am a firm believer of the fact that let's open up our food. Let's get people who are not so much trained but practicing, let's get them on board. Let us give them some refresher training. We've done it over the years in the Eastern region, and a lot of people have benefited from this program. So it hits back to one of my key issues of opening up the association, and then also practicing the bottom-up approach of addressing issues. So the GJA, first of all, is supposed to try and bring on board most of these people parading as journalists. And we figure out a better way of refreshing them, whilst we also encourage our core members.
That's your time, unfortunately, but you didn't touch on how we can fix the issue of shrinking newsroom budgets, but that's your time. And Mustapha, same question. I want to understand from your perspective how under your leadership the GJA can remain relevant across traditional and new emerging media platforms.
Well, I mean, let's go back to
tie in the newsroom shrinking, please. Yeah.
I will do that. I mean, for me, it's simple. Let's go back to the definition of who is a journalist. I mean, once you establish who a journalist is, all of these things fall, all of these questions you're asking fall into line. And for me, anybody engaged in the practice of processing, production, and dissemination of news information is a journalist. Be it new media, social media, traditional media, anybody involved in the practice of the processing, production, and dissemination of information or news can be classified or is a journalist. And so therefore, that is why the GJA has made it very clear. GJA is not against people in social media joining the association. The point is, once you are involved in the production, dissemination, and production of news, you can apply to be a member of the association. But the GJA says that, I mean, go through a certain mentorship, go through a certain learning process, go through a certain learning curve, so that once you gather you understand the ethics of the profession and how to be balanced in what you report, how to be fair, how to be objective, how to respect the rights of minors, all of these things, once you understand them, then GJA can incorporate you as a full member. So, and to be a member, you pay dues. And your dues will help to, I mean, will help to make the GJA more vibrant. As to the shrinking newsroom budget, I mean, there is always a creative way. And I'm sure for you here at Multimedia, you have adopted a lot of creative ways to raise in revenue for your organization. I've seen that you're doing some EcoBank, Habitat Fair. You'll be doing a lot of...
That's not new. It's
not new,
but back decades.
It's one of the ways you generate revenue.
Yeah.
I mean, once revenue is generated, the newsroom gets its fair share. I mean, the point about shrinking a budget for the newsroom is because the media institution itself doesn't have enough to give. Once you are able to generate or create enough revenue, creative ways to bring in revenue, I'm sure the owners will think it wise to give you a bigger revenue. And so that is what has always been. I mean, for those of us even working at the graphic communications group, we've also adopted some creative ways
and
to raise
that's your time, unfortunately.
Newsroom.
All right. Noella, if you permit me to come in before you again, let's talk about, because we're seeing it, a lot of them. There are so many journalists we know who are now politicians. Kojo Nkrumah, our very own people from here. What is your opinion or perspective on this? Because often, once they move from the journalism space into politics or governance, people assume that the entire career in journalism was skewed towards propelling the agenda of a particular political party. What is your opinion on how we can streamline whether or not journalists can move up from this space into governance, and whether or not we can do it without looking over our shoulders? 2 minutes, Maxwell.
Well, I think that the media is at the center of democracy. So it is no news to hear or see journalists moving or transiting into politics. The most critical issue is to do an analysis of the person in question, whether or not the gentleman or the lady who has transited from journalism into politics whilst he was practicing was ethical. Because every one of us go to the polls to vote. But it is what you do with your platform. For me, once you show that higher ethical standard in your practice, once you play by the rule, that is fine. You cannot, with the Constitution guarantees freedom of association. So if a journalist thinks that I have been here, I have given a platform for politicians to sell their ideas, I think that I have a better idea or have a more superior idea in contributing to the development of our country, and he decides to enter politics. That is it. In a nutshell, what we are doing as journalists is to contribute to national development.
But where is the intersection? And I'm broadening this up, so I'll give you the same opportunity to expatiate on your ideas. Where is the intersection between earning that position in government? Obviously, no political party will just pick you without doing anything for them. It could be your credential, it could be your dexterity, it could be something about you. But where do we draw the line between journalism as a profession, where we are actually holding the feet of government to account, and you as a journalist using your platform, whether broadcast, paper, whichever, and ensuring that when the government is ready to pick people, they pick you? Where do we draw the line, a fine line, so that we know that ethics is on this side and political campaigning for position in government is on the other side? Where's the line?
I'm struggling to well understand what
the
you
question
want to solicit from this question.
I'm asking, let me rephrase the question. Where do we draw the line between being an ethical professional journalist and using your platform to do things that may be seen or misconstrued as doing the bidding of a political party? Because no political party will appoint anyone who's not done anything to earn that spot. So as journalists, where is the fine line? Where do we begin to separate those two entities? Ethics, professionalism, and doing work that earns you a spot in government.
I think that is why in every newsroom we have supervisors and we have, people who we report to. If systems are working very well and you put somebody on a set and you realize that this gentleman or this lady on a set is doing the bidding of one political party, I think that the system should be able to check. Because you cannot come and sit here like Joy News. Everybody can read between the lines that you are doing the bidding of one political party. If you get to a time where management or supervisors are unable to call you to order, that means that the system itself is contributing to the problem that we have. So I think that it boils down to the issue of ethics. Let our systems work. Well, I agree that in this country, because of the creation of the 1992 Constitution, a lot of politicians have established their own media organization. such places is very difficult to control. But I think that what the GJA needs to do, together with the National Media Commission, needs to do is to constantly do monitoring of some of these programs. So I recall that in the 2016 election, I had the privilege to serving on the National Media Commission's Regional Monitoring Committee in the Eastern. We were tasked to monitor the local platforms and then figure out which platform is being used for political benefits. And then we did huge job. We submitted a report to the NMC. The NMC at the time started naming and shaming. And I think that this will contribute to curbing the menace of people sitting on radio, parading as broadcasters, but in their heart, they actually are doing their bidding. So when systems work, when we monitor, when we name and shame, when we are able to say that, look, what the line you are towing is not a good line. You have to. So it's just about
systems in place.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. I think altogether we've done about 6 minutes, nearing 7. So you have the same chance, Suleiman.
Well, what's the political ideology of the media establishment is very key. We have politicians setting up media houses to propagate a particular cause, and that cause ought to be established, and they need to pursue that cause. But the most important thing for me is to ensure that are you going by the laid-down ethics? Are you fair? Are you balanced? Are you objective? Are you reporting the truth? Once all these ingredients have been satisfied, for me, it's fine. But the point is, if you come in as a neutral journalist, and which journalists are supposed to be, and you project yourself as a neutral journalist, you need to go beyond the ideologies of the political parties or political establishment and ensure that, equal access and equal opportunity is given to every media house. But as for every political orientation, but as for the journalists transiting into politics, for me, it's fair. And I will encourage it if I have the opportunity. Because you see, once you have your own in there, you are able to advocate for the rights of journalists through them. You can use them as a conduit to do advocacy. You can use them as conveyor belt to propagate your cause.
Is that what we've seen? I'm sorry to interject. I'm curious, because I also interjected. Is that what we've seen? The journalists who have moved into government, do we see their neutrality, objectivity? Do we see them influencing governments in the right direction, the way you say they ought to?
Exactly. So the point I'm making is that have we pursued that path? Have we made that approach to them? Have we gone to them to say that this is what we want to be done for the media?
But once they've left the fraternity, can you actually hold them to that account? Can you say that you still wear the badge of a journalist, therefore your position in government must not be subservient to your overarching, profession as a journalist? Can we say that?
Look, once a journalist goes into politics, he understands the soft spot of journalism, and he understands journalism. So if you have an issue and you route it through them, you can bet that you can get some attention given to the issues that you've taken to them. And that is where I am the president of the Journalists for Business Advocacy, which is an affiliate of the GJA. And we've had instances where we've seen we wanted issues addressed, and this is just an example. Wanted issues to address, we're able to get some people in government who have soft spot for the media, who have once practiced. We're able to get them address a lot of the issues we've taken to them. And that is where we see the advantage derived in journalists transitioning into politics.
Okay, all right. Noella, back to you.
What do you make of the current working conditions of journalists? Is it good? And is it bad? If it's bad, what do you propose can be done to improve upon our working conditions? You have 3 minutes each. In fact, 5 minutes, because it's very important.
That's fine. So we'll try as much as possible to be brief. The condition of Ghanaian journalists is very terrible. The truth of the matter is that in some part of the country, some journalists are not even paid at all. Those who are paid very low, very low B if you compare the minimum wage, very low. And it's, in a large extent, it affects the performance or the ethical standards of our profession. That, I mean, people, because of survival issues, people will do so many things to survive. In the last administration, that was the first time I joined the National Council. One of the things that we pushed for was to get the GJA unionized so that we are able to intervene and bargain better condition of service for journalists. So I am happy to say that I was a part of the team that was following up with the Labour Department to secure a bargaining certificate. One of the strategies was to increase our membership base. If the association transit into a union, that is giving the power to bargain for and on behalf of its members. It requires that you should increase your membership base and ensure that in most of the major media houses, you have these members there. So one of the strategies I am proposing is, it comes back to the issue of the bottom-up approach, is to solidify our funds in all the major media organizations. Multimedia do not have a chapter. The intention is that it's not multimedia alone. Majority of the media organizations in Accra don't have a chapter. So as the National Organizing Secretary, my intention is to help create chapters in institutions we do not have chapters. The Constitution says that in every institution, if you have a minimum of 10 members, you are qualified to create a chapter. Multimedia, our numbers are very huge. So we're going to help create a chapter. I was at Graphic the other time. From my engagement, it became obvious that they do not have a functioning chapter. Most of the media organizations, most of the state media organizations have said. So the idea is to revive those chapters. We increase our membership base. Then we can go back to properly unionize. If the GJA becomes a union properly so-called, the GJA is able to come and sit with management of multimedia. Now look, the law says that you cannot pay.
Your time is up.
You've not done anything yet.
Yeah, please, 5 minutes is up.
Perhaps you can wrap it
Yeah,
up. Please be kind.
So
Yeah.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
So the point is that we can come to the multimedia or any other media organization where our members are to come and negotiate better condition of service for our members. The point is that we talk about nurses, doctors, I mean, we talk about their pay, but nobody talk about it. We should get to a time where we can call for an industrial action because our condition of service issues are not being addressed. That is what we are proposing. That given the opportunity, we are properly unionized. We have the power to bargain for our members. If it is not going on, can you imagine one day you wake up and say that you wake up and the GJA says that no journalist is working because our condition of service.
Right.
That is the area that we should get into.
Mustapha.
First of all, let me just say that Graphic has a functioning chapter, a very strong one. And our chapter chair is Caroline Watton, very, very effective leader. And so, Maxwell, we have a functioning. So, I mean, the point about working conditions of journalists is it's something that exists everywhere. And I think that the GJA can come in to engage media owners respectfully. It's not about unionization. If you unionize and the owner cannot pay, he can't pay. It's not your unionization will take you nowhere if you decide to go that route. For me, I think we can use, the best we can is a moral suasion. So we have a functioning GJA executive approaching media establishment to say, look, if you want your journalists to be professionals and just go on assignment and be expecting so that they can be induced to write induced stories, you need to pay them well. And we can engage media owners to set a standard that, I mean, it's always good to ensure that your journalists are well taken care of. If you want, and indeed, research has established that any media house that pays a journalist very well tends to grow. That media institution grows. And I can give you classical examples of some media houses in Ghana that pay well. And we've seen how they've been attracting a lot of quality journalists to come and work with them in a quality workforce. So for me, I think that it largely has to do with engagement and how to engage media owners to, with moral suasion to tell them. I mean, if you want to be professional, if you want your journalists to be professional, just look at the conditions of work and see how you can improve on it.
We're wrapping up, and I'm going to ask one last question. You can take a minute and 30 seconds to answer this. What do you make of the current GJA leadership? Are there lapses? Are there things that needs to be improved upon, or you think it's been a perfect administration? Maxwell?
Well, there's no perfect situation anywhere. I believe that we should have room for improvement. This leadership, they've done their bits, they've done well, and I think that there are, when you sit back, you realize that there are some other things that, or some other ideas that we can bring on board to make things happen. So we still have room for improvement. But just to do a quick rebuttal with my brother's issue, you cannot discount unionization. If the GJA is coming to meet management of graphic, multimedia, in your capacity as what? You don't even have the legal backing to come and, I have established my company, you're telling me how to pay my people. You don't have the legal backing. So the first thing to do is to secure that legal backing. That will pin the employer down. And for me, I think that is the best way to solve the issue of poor condition of service.
All right, points made.
Except that we've been talking about unionization for more than 10 years now. We've not seen
leadership of the GJA. What do you think?
I mean, for me, like you said, I agree. Largely, you can't get a perfect system. I mean, you sit back and you criticize. It's not always as you see it from outside. So what I think is that the leadership is doing their best. They are doing what they have to do. What we need to do is to give proposals. For instance, one of the things that I always propose, that why don't we, for our welfare fund, why don't we look at even establishing, paying the premiums of some of our retirees who are still in good standing, and they are paying their dues, and some of them go in abject poverty. And when it comes to their health, we can't even take good care of them. So I suggest that, to do that, we need to find a way to enroll some of them, even on private health insurance, and to pay their premiums. By this, we can have some partnership arrangement with some of the insurance companies so that they can enroll some of our retirees. Even members who are not adequately paid, who are not well paid, and cannot fund their premiums, I think that we can enroll them based on the number of dues, the amount of dues we pay.
All right.
And to ensure that, the rights and
gentlemen,
journalists.
Thank you. I know you came with a message. We're journalists. You want to tell us something so that we can vote for you. This is the time to do that. But I want to squeeze in this question about the GJA awards. What is your plan to ensure we have a more active database that traces the competencies of journalists, so that the current system where you have to file and send your videos independently is more structured than we are seeing? But then again, add your final words to that in 1 minute each, and then we pop off. Maxwell.
Well, I think that just as we've indicated, we still have room for improvements. Sitting back, you realize that there's a need to make this award scheme more inclusive. In time past, people have complained about the fact that the awards seem to be centered in Accra. We need to stretch it out and then create more regional categories so that our members from the region will also benefit from the system. Tracking our database, my solution for an operationalized chapters would contribute in solving the database problem, in a sense that if you have a functioning chapter, you are able to get a database from every media organization, so that even generating or collecting of dues do not become much of a problem. So once you are able to solidify our funds at the chapter level, you're able to create a database that by the click of a button, you just go onto the data, you click a button, multimedia, every data.
All right, tell the people to vote for you. Your time is running out.
On June 30th, we are going to make a decision that will help propel the Ghana Journalists Association. I stand for 3 things. First of all, operationalization of our chapter, that is key. Second, a legal support system. And then finally, a welfare system that will revolutionize the condition of service of our members.
Okay.
I am saying that let us prioritize people with that huge experience, people with institutional memory that will contribute to the development of our association.
Thank you. Maxwell Kudetor there. Suleiman.
Thank you very much. The GJA Awards is one of our annual flagship awards, and it's a very important award. Sitting back, one of the things I want to do is to propose some reforms. One of the reforms I want to do, first of all, we have too many categories in the awards. It stretches up deep into the night, and which makes the event a bit more boring. We can make it more active. And so I suggest that, we have to reduce the number of awards so that at least we can invite some quality. Again, with the awards, I am suggesting that we can propose to the national executives, and for that matter, the National Council, to look at how we can bring out the report of the awards committee for every category, for every person who has won an award. What story did he...
Suleiman, you have to tell them to vote for you now. Our time is gone.
Oh, okay. So I am number 2 on the ballot. My name is Suleiman Mustapha, and I'm asking you, I have the track record. I've been there. I have more than 2 decades experience in journalism. I've seen it all. I'm the president of the Journalists for Business Advocacy. I want to transition into the national place. So I ask you humbly to vote for me, Suleiman Mustapha, on the day, on 30th June, 2025.
Thank you so much, Noella. We had a good debate.
It's been awesome.
Yeah.
Had a good debate. I hope the best man wins.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Well, those who joined us for the conversation, Maxwell Kudetor is the aspiring national organizer, and he is with the multimedia group, I believe, and we also have Suleiman Mustapha, like he said it, from Graphic Communications, and he's also vying for the same position, and they joined us for the very first round of the GJA debates on the AM show. Look forward to more. We'll take a quick break, but let me take the opportunity to apologize for those waiting for the football documentary. Unfortunately, time ran out. We'll bring you that documentary, the full installment, tomorrow. So stay with us on the AM show. And after the break, you know what's coming up in the trends with Jacqueline Asamoah and Derek Elom Ashelevi. Please stay. A Newsy weekend, and Jacqueline Asamoah and Derek Elom Ashelevi are standing by to tell you everything that happened in the trends. Over to you guys.
Well, of course.
It is good to hear from you.
And
it's good to see you as well.
Ooh, thank you.
And last week I wasn't here and I saw you and Jackie doing
You missed a lot.
Great, guys. Welcome to In the Trends. Jackie, take it away.
Well, of course, the trends didn't rest, and neither did we. We are back with the juiciest gist from the weekend.
From viral shocks to headline drama. The timeline was on fire, and you know it. If it happens, we'll serve you right here.
Well, so don't blink, don't scroll. We're serving the trends with all the spies. I am Jacqueline Asamoah, and I'm doing this with
Derek Elom Ashelevi. Now let's get into our very first story. Over the weekend, a particular region made the headlines.
Yes.
And we're telling you about the Central region.
Yeah.
Normally, if the Central region will make the headlines, it's either about the NSM kill,
I know, right?
Or tourism staff, or
festival and all that.
But Jackie, guess what? In a very sad turnout of events, we saw a tipper truck with sand, loaded up, driven by a 29-year-old Bright Isel.
Yeah.
He was on his way to offload the truck, and unfortunately, he ran into a Honda CR-V, a Nissan Saloon car, and the saddest of them all is an Apsonic tricycle, what we call Aboboya. Not Aboboya, that is Pragia.
Yeah, that's Pragia rather.
And what even makes the whole thing a lot more sad, you're going to be seeing the visuals pretty shortly on the screen, as you see right there, is the young man standing right at the, at the median.
He was just waiting to cross.
And
the tricycle just makes it way.
Terrible incident. Once again, tipper truck driven by 29-year-old Bright Isel runs through.
Is it 29 or 19?
29-year-old, the driver I'm talking about. Of course, guess what? One dead, which is a 19-year-old, and 4 more people injured. And another story that also made the headlines in this same particular Central region as well. 2 dead people, 3 injured at an old story building collapsed after heavy rainfall. Yeah. If you know the Central region is the hub of tourism.
Yeah.
Of course, all the forts, the castles, and all of that.
There are lots of old buildings. A lot of old buildings in there.
And in this season of a lot of rains, a lot of buildings went down, and guess what? Some people were stuck under the rubble.
Yeah.
You know, 2 people coming out dead. We are not excited and we are not fans of bringing you sad news, but that's what happened in the central region.
I mean, according to the MCE2 over the weekend, I also heard that he was saying that most of these buildings will be pulled down during this week.
In fact, they've even started this morning. We saw a video, you see that video pretty shortly, where excavators are now intentionally bringing down all old buildings, you know, because now we have to make way for new ones, as you see in your shot there.
Yeah.
Some of these buildings are super old.
Yeah.
I'm sure in Gorgeousburg,
1915.
Very old buildings, you know.
Yeah.
Another story that also made headlines in the central region one more time is our own boy, Black Sheriff.
Yeah.
Blacko. If you know Blacko is in town, last weekend he was at the Petroleum Black and White Festival.
He was part of our trends last week.
Part of our trends last week. And he was in Tadi this time around, giving his fans a very wonderful performance. But guess what? He was scheduled to perform at 7 p.m., but ended up performing at what time?
5 a.m.
5 a.m. And what even makes the whole story a lot more sadder is the fact that Blacko, I almost said Jacko. Blacko was in Chakrade even before 7
p.m. because in his social media stories, he was there roughly in the afternoon of Saturday.
Great.
Scheduled to perform around 7 p.m. Then we see news on social media that he's performing around 5 p.m. Tadi people didn't like this thing.
5 a.m.
Sorry, 5 a.m. rather. And that was what happened.
I mean, they got angry, and a whole Blacko, you know, Kwekukela is performing, where them boys is performing, and the guys are flying bottles at your man. Very sad.
Yeah, that's what we can see on the screen.
On the screen. Of course, there were comments on that. Jackie ran me through it.
All right. So, La Mancha says that he was 10 hours late. 10 hours. He wants to place emphasis on that. I think Junior also said that, Masa, he was late for the performance, and it felt like a disrespect to fans, but everybody was chill and enjoyed the performance afterwards. Do you read?
Yep.
And Nay says that, look at this, shaking my head. And last comment here, Sarkodie experienced this on his first performance in Takrade.
One thing I really loved about Blacko was the fact that in as much as the crowd was being very hostile, he still performed. Like,
yeah, he was still having fun with it. He was telling them that, you know what, throw the bottles.
Throw the
you
bottles.
can even throw them behind.
And that's somebody who knows his craft. That's Charlie. Yeah. Oh, we've dealt with, you know, we've played in Anfield before. Rude crowd, but Nana will deliver.
Charlie, if you be a boy and call by free state.
Yeah. You know. All right, on the buildings comments.
Yeah, so on the buildings comment, the first comment here we see is that the buildings there all make old, and then kind wooden floors in between the stories. That's what they used to, demarcate them. Eunice says that a course in the right direction. She's talking about the fact that they're trying to demolish these buildings. Frederick says that this is nothing meaningful. They have to do proper audits and demolish all clay buildings coated with cement. There are a lot in Kotokraba and London Bridge, the city of Netzedan.
Yes. In Netzedan.
Yeah, in Netzedan.
Reminds me of a video I saw. A cabinet trying to speak Fanti.
Yeah.
Kanakeda. I'm sick Kanakeda, man.
Yeah. So that's in Netzedan.
In Netzedan.
Yeah.
Okay, sell it.
Last comment here says, Daniel says that I think some could be rehabilitated and preserved as a heritage center for tourism, and owners duly compensated and relocated.
Makes a good point. I think it's a comment on the accident.
Comments on the accidents. Patrick is asking what is happening in Cape Coast. I saw that running through most of the comments. Bay says that God save us. It's a miracle that some people emerged alive from the cars and tricycle. Last comment here, a law should be passed to ensure cars are properly checked frequently for safety driving, especially with the commercial cars. The rate at which cars are experiencing brake failure is alarming and causing unnecessary death.
Check the cars, not the dirty seats for us to be paying 200.
Charlie, I know, right? DVLA was trending last week because of that.
I want to pause on that because I don't get why dirty seats you are. And
that's easy. What do you think?
Our condolences and sympathy to the families of those who either lost someone or those who are responding to treatment. But this thing about Blacko performing at 5 a.m., guys, I think it happens with the big stars. And I'm sad to see that we have seen a very fast from Blacko. If he doesn't take care, people will automatically start withdrawing from him. So Blacko, if this means anything to you, please, we love you. You are a baby boy. Don't do that to us.
Regardless, the fans still stand strong.
But
we still stand in solidarity with Blacko. He's our boy.
They say a word to a wise is not in the north, it's enough.
Early enough. It's the organizer. You know how sometimes they want to, it's the best meal served for the day.
Remember the time the Same thing happened. Whether Davido or so, Ghanaians waited up all night. You remember the backlash? Some people automatically withdrew from him. I'm just saying, Black Hole. It's a promise.
A promised land. It runs through every year.
You know?
Last 2 years, this event started around 1 a.m. The following year, it was the same thing. But as a Ghanaian still make up for his event.
Yeah, but we are saying that Black Hole is our baby. You shouldn't do that to us.
Solve the tussle between the two of you. I'm going to tell you now. Guess what? We're talking about OBO, David.
Yes.
Solid guy. He promised the Washington Bay promoter, Ananzo, for performing the house of Ooh.
That song, I never knew it was even in English, Charlie.
All I know is Anazo, baby designer. It's okay. Of course, they made a promise, and the money wasn't coming. But you know how Ghanaians can make, hey, you know, I bet ball when this so, and the guys are very strategic.
Yeah.
He released the video saying, it's not about the money. The whole recognition that Davido has given to me is what we are after.
Yes.
And guess what? Davido delivered on his promise. He's received $5,000. And he's very excited about it. We're all very excited for him. Social media definitely has opinions on that. Jackie Ramos.
Yeah, so Modelo says that if his life doesn't change after that money, then he's the problem. He needs to start something to be better for himself. This isn't the time to go and chase.
Yes.
Okay, you can see that. And also, it's real says that as the money come like this, more girls go talk, say he be them a crash. In fact, I've seen that.
Great.
I saw that trend this morning. A lot of ladies, he's my crush. You are this. Hey!
Jackie, Pesco. Okay, who know you bad? I was having Pesco. If you don't find money, that's what I'm saying. I'm not looking fresh until I make it.
I know.
But Jackie, the point about this money can change is like $5,000. Now the dollar is 10 cedis.
Yeah.
So when
but half a loaf is better than none.
Okay, over 50,000.
Yes.
This one is over 50,000. It's 50,000. He just got it. Yeah, over.
No.
The equivalent in cities, I mean.
Yes.
It's a little over 50,000 Ghana cedis.
I maintain the fact that half a loaf is...
No?
It's not going to be. You know, the autonomics and the guy, the way Ato is forcing, he's making the dollar come down. So everybody's, some people are making the point that the money should have come when the dollar was 16 cedis.
Charlie.
Of course, social media heated on Jackie Ranasty, the rest of the
yeah. Last comment here says that he was promised the money when the rate was 16.50, but received the cash when the rate is 10.5. Better than nothing, though. So you heard that. It's better than nothing. All right.
Great. Now, Jackie, guess what? We always cry about galamsey. In fact, Joyce has a popular slide, say no to galamsey.
Yeah, I mean, we still stand by it.
Over and over again. Yeah. But this is the second time the Chinese ambassador, Tondefa, is responding to the claim. The first one was that, which was sometime last year. If you catch them mining, deal with them as you want.
Yeah.
Then this time around, you know how the new government says that we will deport them and all of that. Now, Tondefa says that, how can you blame my people for a canker in your problem?
I know, right?
These guys are regular residents who have come from another country to just come and find a day job. We Ghanaians are the ones who have given them the job. Sweetie, what do you make about his points about the fact that...
Mustapha Bande was telling us this morning that it doesn't lie in his mouth to say these things to us. But I also think I agree with him to a large extent. The Chinese have no legal capacity to get licenses to mine. So, of course, we cannot blame them. But also, it doesn't change the fact that the majority of those who are arrested are Chinese nationals.
That's the whole point.
You have a point.
All right.
I mean, social media definitely got very intense about that.
Yes, sure. So let me run through some of the comments. So Arama says that for a Chinese ambassador to say this means there's more to the galamsey issues that the ordinary Ghanaian knows. And this should be a wake up to us. And also, let me get one last comment here. Henry Kumi says that, hey, this one there. We have an adage in Ghana which says that if an elder refuses to restrain the child from eating nanka, he becomes the chief nanka eater. So, Mr.
What is nanka?
The people are right in calling you chief galamsey.
It's a python, thank you. I almost
people eat that?
Yeah, people
chief nanka eater.
Yeah. So the way McAfee gave us the name, I don't know if you have nanka, man. My camera guy.
I know, right? Yeah.
Of course, I mean, we have a lot more stories, but you know, Charlie, don't worry. We'll save the juice and bring you later on in subsequent, or the next time we're on your screens. But we like doing this, and of course, I like doing it with this beautiful lady, Jacqueline.
Asama.
Probably known as Jackie Atu. Sweetie, it's a delight.
Did you guys match your outfit intentionally? You're in blue, white, different shades of blue.
You're starting to think I like it.
Oh yeah, telepathy is working.
I know, right?
Always a pleasure to see you guys. Thank you so much for bringing us what's in the trends. And that's how we're wrapping up the AM show this morning, Monday, the 23rd of June, 2025. But because it's a Monday, we're leaving you with Ghana Grows Changing Narratives, which is brought to you by MasterCard Foundation in collaboration with Springboard Roadshow Foundation. That comes up now.
Me feel me jumasino. Na in fact, no edimampa. If you make condition na hunu mo abese na how na de ma afema. Nyame na adoma bidibewie o makisima. Me yonko ba ko na oka chemne no o de me ko technical school AVT a me ko pensado do ayede ma de bi me ho ba chire ampala be gada agro bi no already na se be kafra wona na onya adwene de oye adwuma ade biere yi ho a elele ya ni ntumi nye me fi mankesin he ya bedwuma me yen babodwuma o 2-4 leatherweights matse mofra well fi say mo woko there was the born bra the first batch ko second batch third batch na go ba me training
me started 2020 during the COVID time. Na you fear wa bra na yen hwenti na me feel say me ti fear na me yen hwe why don't I join this work but me joining so when there at least mo san juma say unemployment work for demonstration me kan bi motum le me say mo go there mo wen san juma
mo customers a wo be fe bi what they call obi wo order bi a 2 dozen which is 24 pairs na wa ba sisa na order call obi so wa woba na won so aba ba ye won selection na me na do my customers so woba sisa obi oboto na wo de ko.
I've been working around for here for let's say almost 6 years and I've been patronizing a product from Mr. Organising for the past 2 years and he has been a good person ever since I started buying items from him. People have been patronizing his products.
Ona na said kafra me ya me da hwem ma nyame na adoma binom wo de wie SS na wo de bo ho bra binom so ho private school a ono so me de hwe ho ya keke eno aso bi na me da to asase na nyame na adoma me de nya blog keke me de gubi
sabe na oyare for dan so wanfa ine yare no wanfa ntena fom oye djuma me amanesa do ma enuanu ma wakano ho wetima abuo bi mu ma bi mu etukwan as afeso wafa apprentice a onye wo ye djuma ma bibia wie peye obi ma pompon wo ho woko
edjuma de me kada onye mfaso de mama na ma benyame aye mfaso de amampa ke mi amedi dem de mi nka me ko freska we na me da aboa me mo frɛ
akopon shalo na dori bia yankopon tons papa ngodo so in the motuma me say some go there watch me dwuma mtum ye bibi tv bandia yankopon shalo
me the Lawrence Inkum emi na me da O2 leather works ano same impo ma ya on subutu ma ye Ghana Grows Hope Day